Can't we see it from another angle, says Brian? No. Well, we got one. We got two angles. You got this one on Facebook.
I'll stand on my head.
Tell you what, I've been at Blackpool this weekend listening. And you know you get those. You go to Coal Island and they give you get tokens because it's gambling. And I used all my tokens that my wife won on a knockoff GoPro. It's one of those cameras you can strap to your body. So we'll strap it to Scully at Magic Weekend.
Oh, fantastic! You'll be able to see other people go to the bar for him.
Yeah, I don't know how long.
I'm driving, so I won't be going very often.
Bike mount and helmet mount included.
Oh, excellent.
You use your own, guys, there, listener. Welcome to 4020. You may have noticed no Mark Wilson this week. He's left us now. Too big time for us.
Well, he's having a well-deserved break.
Yeah, he's on holiday.
Currently drinking what the Peroni in.
I'd have gone with. I was going to say pina colada, but he's not kind of.
Benidorm, they'll be in the Yorkshire bar. It'll be a pint of Tatler's, won't it? What's that? There's Yorkshire pub.
It'll be
Benidorm, isn't it?
He'll be wetting his
Benidorm,
whistle.
Money, not Barcelona.
He's had a big weekend. He'll be wetting his whistle.
Yeah, imagine that. Everyone else was in Barcelona, and he got sent to Greece versus Norway to learn all those Greek names, which I understand was a great game or an entertaining game. I didn't see it because I was in Blackpool, and then in Blackpool, I saw him. He was there. Do you want some breaking news to start with?
Go on, then.
I know we never introduced ourselves, did we? I did start that. Yeah, I did.
Well, the other thing is we've still got someone to come, but there will be a little later.
Mystery guest, another person who's written in this month's 4020 magazine. Breaking news: Danny Maguire, who was on that list of Leeds Rhinos potential targets. You know, like Peter Snowden election night used to have the list of targets for the various political parties, and Leeds is basically just a list of any halfback that's ever lived.
Yeah.
He's not leaving Hull Clean Art, and he's not leaving at the end of the season. He's going to be in a recruitment position once he retires, whatever that means.
Okay.
He's
taking Jamie
head
Peacock's,
of recruitment.
He's taking Jamie Peacock's football manager job.
Sid, who is, I can't believe Sid on Twitter. If you don't follow him, he's worth a follow just because people are idiots, right? And people fall for it.
He's a fisherman.
Haven't we learned our lesson from our last relegation? But the great thing is he gets the intelligent people, or the supposed intelligent people.
Could I just say?
Yes.
That I reckon this has been one of the great weekends for Rugby League. And that depending on how you capitalise on it, because the history of the sport is littered with opportunity missed. But if you stand back and look at what we've seen and where it's been played and how good it's been, this could be a weekend where the sport could take a step into the future with positivity.
Careful.
Well,
I thought
we'll miss some out, but irrespective of the result for the home team on Thursday night, the opening of a facility that I think genuinely is the best in the sport in this side of the world was fantastic. I think we saw two games on Friday that was as good as we've seen this year. Brisbane and the Roosters over in the NRL, and then Saints and Salford, which must have a claim for being the best game we've seen this year in Super League. Certainly, absolutely glued to the set while that was on. The changing fortunes of Saints running away with it, Salford coming back, and Saints nicking it at the end, and it being full of controversy as well. That was captivating viewing. You mentioned the international between Greece and Norway. That's the next step onto the World Cup. Again, I think both nations equipped themselves magnificently in London, and it was a great spectacle. It was being back to Norway. I think the first time that broadcasters over there have had a chance to look at their national team. But again, the hero was an 18-year-old hooker from South Sydney who had bonded with his Greek teammates and found out all about his heritage and was the star man and the difference between the two teams. But again, Greece ran away with it in the first half, and absolutely heroic performance from Norway in the second. They won the second half, so everybody got something out of that. I think you'll tell us all about Blackpool, but watching it from afar, I thought the essence of what that is about. It's a weekend of camaraderie. It's something for the players. It's a stage that they don't normally play on. I thought that all worked, and again, we mentioned that Mark isn't with us, but credit to the host broadcaster for trying some new combinations, both on commentary and summarising. I think that added to the weekend. Enjoyed that. And the big one, I guess, is Barcelona. That on Saturday afternoon, we were, those of us that weren't fortunate enough to be stranded at Manchester Airport on the way home, watched with, I think, increasing awe has the sport proved what the sport can do? And one of the arguments against teams from supposed expansion territories is they don't bring away fans. Well, Wigan took 4,000 fans, which was commendable in itself, but the story was that the Catalonians turned up in over 25,000 in number. Probably, there were probably 6,000 or 7,000 avowed Catalan Dragons fans. The rest were clearly neutral, and they were there unfurling their banners of Catalonian independence and getting behind the idea that there was a big sporting event being played at, I think you've called it, a cathedral of sport.
Well, apparently so. I think Steve McNamara went even further. I should just to clear something up about Barcelona before we get stuck into things, because I know a lot of people are getting upset on social media, as is their wont to do, including ex-players who seemingly have conspiracy theories at their front of their minds. Forget Mulder and Scully. The two crowd figures at the Camp Nou, some say New Camp, some say Camp Nou, 26,000, whatever it was the paid attendance. The 31,000 included tickets and whatever else that had been given. And the argument people are having, every club counts.
The argument's irrelevant on the basis of the fact that either of those attendances would have been a new Super League record. But if 31,500 people were in there, let's tell everybody that 30. I think the other thing about that game was, with the greatest respect to Wigan, I think Catalan needed to win that, because it needed to justify to them that this concept works. And I think it did, and the manner in which they played, for any of those who turned up and had never seen a game of rugby league before, they will be tempted to go back. It was a really, really great Catalan performance.
I'll tell you what as well then, Phil, because since Super League started way back in '96, and they've been calling it Super League Europe, haven't they? So now
still in the official
after that success at the new camp or Camp Nou or Barcelona, whatever terminology you want to put on it, to be honest with you. So now, keep it in Barcelona for maybe next year and the year after, and then Portugal, they have big football stadiums. Why not take it to Portugal and then take it to Italy from there and let's...
I think what we've proved, and we've done it before, we did it in '97 in the second year of Super League, that we need to go on the road. We need to sell this product.
Right, this is what I'm saying. And now you've mentioned...
And it doesn't just have to be Catalan every time.
Exactly, but what you've done, you've mentioned the way the game has been this week, from our side, Leeds, all right, on the field, shambolic, but off the field, when you look at that magnificent stadium, anybody goes to that stadium, they're being envied. And so there should be 45 million quid, but it's all about what's on the field at this moment in time. Not very, very good. And then you look at Friday, okay, if you didn't see the NRL, but Saints, Salford, that was rugby league's all about. And then we look at the Bash, the Catalans and Wigan. And as you've just been saying from there now, and not just the quality of what the game was producing, now is the time, surely, for our marketing men, and surely now for our guys who should be telling people what a great sport we've got, promoting the sport, what we have. It's all right saying yes, the crowd's this, the crowd's that, and what have you. Go out and tell everybody. Don't just tell people who know and see it. Go out there and attract new people. And when I'm reading Martin Sadler's here now, and also to congratulations to Ralph Rimmer, and the RFL. For the Bash. I enjoyed the Bash. I enjoyed every game from there, all in its own purpose. And I tell you what, boy oh boy, I can't wait for the Halifax-Bradford game in 2 weeks' time for the quarter-final, because they did get...
No, because I saw some Bulls fans on Saturday leaving the stadium as I was on the way back to the hotel saying, how can you get excited about playing Halifax?
Oh, well, to say that was a brilliant game. But also, too, as my colleague Martin Sadler said here as well, and now again, a time for the RFL, because we know what's going to happen with the Sky deal in 2021. Surely that is for the marketing guys, for the promotion guys at the RFL. Get ripped into some TV people, get ripped into the ITV4 or Channel 4 or Channel 5 and show them what a great product we've got at this level.
The regular season highest attendances in each competition now are held by what we would call expansion teams. So the Dragons now have this 31,555, and in a regular season game, not a Super 8s game or a qualifiers game, but in a regular season game, the championship record is currently held by Toronto. And we've heard today that there's a slight window of opportunity for more teams to come in. Ottawa can possibly be in next year in League One. I think they've still got some more due diligence to do on that. New York have been told to reapply in 2021 if they want to come into League One, which they've already said is the timescale that they had in mind. So there's some doors opening in the sport at the moment. I think the fact that the Aussies took their magic concept to Brisbane, got a far in excess of what they were expecting. They're now saying, well, they've already signed to take it to Brisbane next year, but that's a product that they want to take on the road. So Origin's going to Perth, Magic could go to Perth. Fiji are entering a team into the New South Wales League, like PNG have one in the Queensland League. At the moment, there just seems to be a feeling around rugby league that we perhaps now could sell it to a wider audience. My bugbear is that we need one administration, and the more we fracture, the harder that is to do.
Well, Phil, we know
what we've proved, we've got a product.
Yeah,
we have got a product.
We've had that. Whatever's happened has happened, and as we know, the split with Super League and the RFL now. But one thing for sure from also as well at the weekend at the Bash was, because I've said when I was at Keighley, involved at Keighley in the League One, if you don't bring your A game week in and week out, you're going to get turned over. But also too, what I sensed on Saturday and Sunday from all the sides who played well, the players love being on television. They absolutely loved.
They don't get it very often.
Exactly, and I think as well, we've been on television. You know, they up the ante a little bit, they up the performance, the consistency from there. And I tell you, some of the games were fantastic. And also as well, the players themselves, with interviews, what they gave, very professional. Because, as you've mentioned, they're not on television that often. But I just felt this year's Bash has been the best. And I tell you what, long may it continue. And if Sky don't want it, well, I tell you what, as Martin Sadler said, surely now the RFL can go to other broadcasters and sell the greatest game of all.
It started well with Toronto against Toulouse, because again, two teams that love playing the game. And you know, if you're going on away attendances, there shouldn't have been anybody in the stadium. But I think quite a few people got there early because they wanted to see that game. They knew the importance behind it. They also knew that they were going to be entertained, and they were. I think you were there as well, and even before that, perhaps wasn't as well advertised as it could have been.
Sadly not, no.
There was a women's academy game, and then on the Sunday it was the
men's academy on the
men's academy, and then the women's
Saturday, the women's Origin on the Sunday.
Which again makes it more of a weekend and gives young kids and women the chance to sample that atmosphere in a bigger stadium.
As Ralph has said, it's an all sports event. Apart from Super League and League One, but I'm just nitpicking. The phony war between the Rugby Football League and the Super League, I don't know how long it's going to take them both to realise that they are better working together than separately, and any fool can see this. Hello to Jimmy, by the way, who grabbed me on the Saturday after the Toronto-Toulouse game, because I'd wandered out for a bit. Because we all thought, Rochdale Swinton, that'd be rubbish, and then of course we get beaten, and it's great. As it always is, another great turnaround. Well done, Swinton, Martin Kellner, Swinton. Because across the road from Bloomfield Road, there's an old bookshop. You'd love it, Phil. Piled high with books, like above your head. You fall on your head, it's dangerous.
That's my kind of book.
But also big boxes full of football and rugby league programmes, of which somehow I have brought back lots of London Crusaders programmes.
Brilliant.
And we were chatting to Jimmy about it. He wasn't a big fan of Brian McDermott, but he's happy with the comments he's made afterwards about the honesty and the hard work of Championship players, and he's a Leigh fan, so he was happy with the result on Sunday, of course, as well. And Rochdale Swinton was great. And, you know, there's a poll, the RFL has sent out a poll on the Our League app, which listeners may remember I deleted in a fit of pique earlier in the season. But now I have re-downloaded it because I had to have my say about where the Bash will be held. They've currently had 1,500 votes. 57% say Bloomfield Road should be where it is, or where it is held in 2020. The other options, Emerald Headingley Stadium Leeds, 12%. I mean, I like Headingley. It's a great stadium. Is there much to do around? This is the same argument for all of them, so I'm not having to go at Leeds. Kingston Park, Newcastle, 10%. Same, it's in the middle of nowhere. But it's a lovely stadium. York's Community Stadium, which is not finished yet, 9%. Odsal, 7%, brackets, #iconic. Keepmoat Stadium, Doncaster, 6%. There's some shops nearby. How many articles in 4020 have I written about the Summer Bash, all pretty much saying the same thing? It works because of where it is. Because it's a perfect location. Because if you want to watch a game, you can watch a game. There's a tram stop 5 minutes away. You can go into town. You can come back for your game later on.
And what's funny is we'll be having that exact debate about the likelihood of Anfield being the lowest crowd at a Magic weekend because there is nothing to do there.
I was just going to say it as well, Richard and Phil, and all, because as we know, there's a tug of war now between the Super League hierarchy and the RFL hierarchy, and the RFL's absolutely delighted with the Brass this weekend. As you mentioned earlier, Nigel Wood, Phil, he was the instigator of Magic Weekend. Newcastle's been a massive success. Liverpool, they will not be as many fans of what has been there before. So do you think maybe the RFL could be a little bit sniggering and saying, well, if it had been us, if it had been left to us, it had still been in Newcastle and we would have had over 60,000 fans?
Possibly not. What I do think is that you look at the respective PR that has gone out about the two events, and I think the RFL at the moment is on the higher ground.
I agree.
I think that that Super League, who have announced today that Dacia are going to sponsor it, so we'll clearly have the Magic Weekend for at least the next 2 years.
How long's the deal at Liverpool? Is it just this year?
I think it should. So I think they've been on the defensive, and I think they came out today at the official launch saying they were expecting 50,000, which will be the lowest crowd.
Yeah.
But they got more money to take it to Liverpool, so I guess they're claiming that the books will balance at the end of it. The interesting thing is the story's starting to come out on the back of Barcelona about where they might take Magic next, and I think if it's true that White Hart Lane is a possible venue, the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, then that might be good. But announce it a year in advance. I think people will go to that. Because I think it needs to feel like Blackpool felt. It needs to feel like you're part of something that you want to stay over and invest in, and even if it's not your team, you want to stay on there. And we could do that in Newcastle. We could do that in Wales. Difficult to do it in Murrayfield because the stadium again was so far away from the city. Difficult really to do it in Manchester because it's right in the middle of Rugby League territory, and why would you stay over?
The strange thing with Blackpool is in year one there was stuff going on around the ground. You had a mini fan zone, stalls and whatever. And year on year that has progressed to and gone down to regress to, I think, pretty much nothing going on around the ground. Nothing at all. But that doesn't matter because, yes, 15,000 there. So it was the second lowest attendance in the history of the event or whatever. But pretty much apart from last year, it's all been 15,000, 16,000. So it's all the same number of people pretty much. You had Bradford, you had Widnes, you take away London, you're going to get more people there. It's interesting that without having all the things around the ground, still people go because they want to go watch the rugby and because there's enough in Blackpool to sell to the people.
It's a holiday destination.
I don't think having a fan zone around Anfield is going to get people in or not. They're going to go and watch their team and go home. A lot of the coach trips organised by clubs are the same thing. Interestingly, on Wednesday, we've got an opportunity to speak to Rob Elson. I don't know if you have you had the email, Phil? You have. That's good then. Which I think I'll be taking up. So I don't know what I'm going to ask him.
You can be our Forty20 representative.
Yeah, what can I say? So Rob, and Robin's mentioned here about Liverpool Council, whatever, paying to host the event. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm sure it probably is because
they have.
Cities bid to host these events. That's why it was in Newcastle for years when we used to go up to and I didn't go to the launch day because I was in Blackpool. Otherwise I would have been there. But when we were in Newcastle for the press launches in the last few years, people were there from the city council or whatever the organisation is that bids for these things. That's how big sports events work.
But I also think that's why it's important that the Barcelona event was seen to have ripples beyond the usual rugby league coverage, and that there have been some features written not only in newspapers that wouldn't normally write them, but it's even got to Australia that this was a big event. So if you're the leader of a city council and you look at that and you think this sport, it might bring some money into our location over a weekend, you might be tempted to bid for it. Bristol City Council might be thinking, well, we might have a go for this Magic because have you seen how many they got in Barcelona? And this is a sport that isn't just confined to the geographical areas where it's strong, it can take an event and place it somewhere else.
But also as well, though, as I keep saying, we've got to tell people what we've got. We can't,
and we've got to make league games events.
But we can't keep being secretive with it.
Well,
we've just got to tell everybody what a great sport we've got.
The
what a
other
great
thing
product
as
we've
well
got.
is the club owners have got to be aware of the fact that there is a responsibility to spread the sport.
Correct, the sport. You're just saying the word there.
Not their club.
Not their team.
So
not their club.
Spread
the sport of rugby league.
We saw a game. I think it was between St George and Newcastle, played in the country region of Mudgee.
Yeah.
Now it's where I think St George have taken 3 or 4 of their games. They've got an allegiance of fans there because it's not easy for them to get into metropolitan Sydney. Now they would have got 9,000 for that game, whether they had it at Wollongong or Illawarra, but they take one game every year out into the country, and it's South take one to Darwin every now and again.
They went to Tamworth. Did they go to Tamworth as well a few weeks ago? Didn't they?
And they go to Perth, and I think Wellington. What we need to do is take a leaf out of their book and say, look, everybody takes a home game somewhere where there's a benefit for the sport.
Yeah, I agree.
And even if we do them as double headers, so we can think of maybe a few geographic. Nottingham, for example, I think would be right for rugby league. If you were to take Leeds against Castleford and Wigan against Warrington to Nottingham as a double header, I think no club would lose money on that, but the sport would benefit.
You mentioned it before, and we used to have it a long time ago, seemingly in the 90s, and then we got rid of it. The on the road fixtures. Why not have a game at Tynecastle or whatever? We've seen Barcelona work for many various reasons because it was taking people from. It's like a pilgrimage to their, as I say, cathedral or whatever in the Camp Nou. If we say, right, we're going to play a game here in Bristol, as you say, or Edinburgh or wherever, and sell it as an event to
somewhere
people.
Of strategic value, where ideally on the undercard you could play a game from that area. So if we go to Bristol, then the Gloucestershire All Goals will play a game on the undercard against Torfine Tigers of Wales, so that everybody gets a buy-in to what we're doing. I think the other big event this weekend, which again is a little bit closer to home, was the Rhinos Challenge at Skegness, which they do every year for all of the community teams. I think they do it over 5 age levels. There were 6,000 kids playing rugby league in Skegness this weekend. Now, even though that's badged up as a Rhinos Foundation event,
is any of them available for Magic?
No, but what you got were teams like Eastern Rhinos of Colchester came up, and you imagine those kids.
Are they any good for first team
I don't think they've signed them. But you can get on a coach as a 12-year-old in Colchester, spending all weekend in Skegness at Butlins, but you're playing rugby against teams like Alton, perhaps, or West Hull, and you're getting an education in rugby league, and you're mixing afterwards, and all the players go to a presentation. Now, all of that, you cannot put a price on that. While ever we're doing stuff like that in Skegness and getting 6,000 people, why the hell aren't we taking the professional game on the road?
I see Coventry's under, I think 11s, 9s or whatever. We're looking for teams, so get in touch with Coventry Bears on Twitter and spread
go down
the game.
there, play them.
Doesn't matter if you beat them easily. It doesn't matter because we need to give kids a chance.
I know the Challenge Cup is moving and it's been in completely the wrong place at the end of October, and it's really difficult. But part of that weekend should be you take your junior team to Wembley on the Saturday, and on the Sunday you come back and play a development team. So you go and play Coventry or Hemel or St Albans or West London Warriors, and you go in your kit and you feel part of something bigger. That's what worked in Barcelona. It was something bigger than it happened to be Catalan playing Wigan.
Chris has mentioned Anfield and who will take the blame for it, and we're already deciding it's going to be a disaster before it's even happened, which is a very typical rugby league thing to do.
Yeah,
but you can't, and it's like Leeds in crisis. It's too easy to blame one person. You can't just blame one factor for something going wrong if it goes wrong this week. And we don't. Maybe thousands of people will turn up thinking, actually, I want to go to Anfield.
Yeah, but but also as well, Richard, Phil. The question was, and I think it still is now. Why did we have to change it from Newcastle? There was no reason to take it away from Newcastle.
50 grand, probably. 50,000 reasons.
Maybe the fact that Newcastle's just held the 2 Rugby Union finals. Maybe they didn't want to host another event. I don't know. No,
Newcastle. They did want it. They bid for it.
They might have reduced their bid this year because they had the 2 big Rugby Union games, and they know they're getting a World Cup game.
But also as well, what I think is important. I don't know what you.
But it's all about the experience.
But I don't know what you guys think as well. But I think we should, listen to what supporters want. And if you say, so at the end of the day, Newcastle, if the 65,000 supporters are going to go there, there's only 50 at Anfield. It's a no-brainer, surely, isn't it?
I think again, we need to redefine.
For the sport as a whole,
we need to redefine what we want out of Magic Weekend.
Well, what do we want?
Well, that's for me, the issue is not how many people turn up. It's what do we want out of it? Do we want a weekend away for our core fans, for which Newcastle was the ideal venue?
Yeah.
Do we want to try and just generate the most money we can? Because in this respect, Liverpool gave us more money than Newcastle.
So that's what we've done there for them.
Do we do it as a is there some kind of spin-off that we need? We've got a semi-professional club in Newcastle. Excellent.
Yeah. So that's the reason why we've got there for the money.
Now we've got.
You know what's happened is all these people tune in and they say, you all look scruffy and unkempt or whatever. And now Leon Pryce is up in a suit and we're like, I'll let me.
Must have had a nice payoff from working too. Looks very smart. Look very smart, Leon. There, look very smart.
A bit harsh.
Nice payoff.
Nice start to the evening.
Welcome to the studio. Thank you very much.
I've got my £5 Blackpool the back T-shirt on, running out of clothes to wear. Phil's in his usual lovely jumper.
Well, I've just been to do the Rugby League show, the Rugby League app thing. That's why I'm listening.
No, you're always a man of sartorial elegance. Quick question to welcome you, and thank you so much for coming in. Being an ex-Catalan player, we've talked about the value of going to Barcelona this weekend and what it might do for the sport. You know the Catalonian people. Will a lot of them who haven't been to a Rugby League game before but have now experienced it at the cathedral of the region buy into the Dragons, do you think?
Maybe. I think it's about a 2 hours drive from Barcelona to Perpignan, so it's quite a distance. But you've got to try these things out and give it a chance. They only get 10,000 to 9,000 really, 10,000 to a big game at home fixtures. And what did we get there? 23,000. 33. So
Super League record.
You'd hope that some of them would filter through. So the proof will be in the pudding within the next probably year or so. Won't it?
And did you get excited that your ex-boys put on such a show in front of that audience?
Well, yeah, it'll be a big.
Because know how much that'll make.
Yeah, it'll be a big deal.
Black.
Yeah, it'll be a big deal to Bernard, the boss, the mafia man. He'll be
the meat man.
Yeah. Bernard will be happy with that. Wigan's always the team that they look to beat, and that's why they always put the big games on for the Wigan games. So yeah, I'll be really happy with that.
And you've just done the League One show. I know that you take a real interest in lower league rugby. You take on the Blackpool weekend for the Championship.
Yeah, good. We've got crowds up there again, didn't we?
Yeah.
Bradford Halifax were a really good game, wasn't it?
Thought you might mention Bradford.
Why?
Have no idea.
No
idea.
No, it was a good game, wasn't it? It was good. The Bradford fans always take a lot of fans over to that game and make it a real carnival atmosphere. So I think it's a real good event for lower league teams because not many of them maybe playing finals or play at Old Traffords and Wembleys, and it kind of feels like a final day. So it's something different. I think it's great for the fans, great for the players.
If I remember, 2 years ago when you were at Bradford, is it 2 years ago? When you retired, they did a big thing about you in the programme, and then you retired the week before.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I missed that game because I was too old to play anymore.
How are the knees?
Old and not very good. Knackered.
We're
getting there.
Good.
I want to get some sad news from the weekend out of the way because, well, not out of the way, that's the wrong phrase, but I didn't realise Scott's career went on a while. Leon's did as well. You played against Quentin Pommier, who lost his life this weekend, sadly, and you played against him back in 1982, at the start of his career.
Yeah, I did, yeah. And as I've described him in my column today, he's like a Roy Powell, where he'd do all the work when nobody else wanted to do, put his body on the line from there, and just like a vacuum cleaner, just swept everything up and taking the ball up, not an issue whatsoever, and just a leader. And everybody will tell you, no frills Rugby League player, but if you wanted anybody in your side who could do the hard yards for you, do the hard tackling for you, do the donkey work, put the body on the line, well, Quinton Podkey one of them players. And tell you what, wasn't one of the biggest guys in stature, but boy oh boy, had a heart of a lion, and the respect what he had throughout the game, not just the same from his Kiwi mates, but also to playing in the NRL. And the Wigan fans will tell you, Terry O'Connor said on Sky this weekend as well, one of the toughest guys that he's ever played with. And it's very sad he's lost his life at 40 years of age, and The big guy in the Kiwi Rugby League says absolute icon, and that's what he was. Very, very sad. Very sad.
Yeah, very emotional. Sir Peter Leach gave tribute to him.
Yeah,
somebody we know quite well, and
very sad.
I think he's gone down as one of the toughest.
I think it says a lot when. I think when you talk to players and ex-players about rugby league, you always talk about toughness, and you talk about certain amounts of players and he was tough and he was tough. But I think he's generally regarded as one of, if not the toughest player that people have ever come across, and there's plenty of people say that. There's so many people say that this week. That's some accolade in one of the toughest games.
But
when you talk about being tough, like I think his stats, he's only about 5'10". And they say to put. If he put his body where no other players want to put the bodies. Again, same like my old mate Roy Powell. We lost Roy at 34 years of age. That was 20 years ago. With a heart attack from there. But yeah, he will be sadly missed. But an absolute icon of the game of rugby league, and certainly in New Zealand. And as you mentioned, the Mad Butcher. Yeah, well, he's got an encyclopedia on many, not just New Zealand players, but many people around the world of rugby league. And I say, he will be sadly missed. And at 40 years of age, very sad.
So you had to watch your rugby league this weekend. Can't believe you're not involved. But we were said at the top of the programme that we think this could be a seminal week for the sport, in that a lot of that's happened this weekend has projected it in a real positive manner. Did you sit there thinking, if we get this right, we could do something with the sport at the moment?
Yeah. I just think I think a lot of the times in rugby league we've got this problem that we always try and compare ourselves with the sports. We've got a lot of negative people that like to always look at the worst side of things rather than the best. And you always
That's
feel
part of the northern side.
Yeah, just part of us. It's part of the way we act. Sometimes, and you've got to be positive about things. I think the Summer Bash obviously will be fantastic, and then we've got the Magic Weekend coming up this weekend, and just try and take the positives out of it. Let's spit out well. Just trying to be positive about the game. Stop comparing ourselves to rugby union, because we're not the same sport, and try and make everything that we've got better, and try and keep moving forward. And there's just too many negative people.
And the Challenge Cup's had a boost as well. We know the key result in the previous round was the wonderful one at Odsal.
My team versus your team.
My team versus your team. It was great for the sport. It was great.
Score.
It was great for the sport.
Get lost. Get lost.
But,
people come up to me and they're worried. I said, "What they're worried for? We're going to beat them before."
Yeah. I know exactly how you celebrate on Twitter. Don't worry about that. When I predicted Leeds by 30, you and your brother. I saw your kid, and you were like that. Another one you got wrong, Scully. Another one you got wrong.
That's not news, though, is it? Scully getting something wrong.
But hindsight's a wonderful thing.
The Challenge Cup, which I know is a competition that's very close to you, and you've had some of your best memories in the sport playing at places like Wembley. To have an event like that where 1 million people are watching it on the BBC, where there's the underdog wins, where there's over 10,000 in the stadium that hasn't hosted 10. Again, that's something that, with what we've seen this weekend, we need to move forward.
We do. I think the big thing is, like you're saying there, 1 million people watching it on BBC. Yeah. It's really of real big importance for that time slot on the day that we get it right at the right time. Because when I grew up, when Sky wasn't about, or when we couldn't afford Sky in our house, so we'd have to watch the BBC. But you'd always know Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon you could watch rugby league, and that's what people like me grew up watching. Ellery Hanley, Martin Fires, Scully's, people play. Did you play Wembley, Scully?
Yeah.
Twice.
Didn't win that.
No, he lost that. You watching all these players I grew up who were my, who you look up to. It all started on the BBC. All started with the Challenge Cup. Ray French, and you grew up with them thoughts in the back of your head. I wanted to play. My first thought, I want to play at Wembley. I want to play at Wembley and score a try, and that, not to play for a club, but I wanted to play at Wembley, and that was through the Challenge Cup being on television.
And in terms of something else that's coming back at the end of the year, which again we need more information about, Great Britain is back on the agenda.
That's fantastic, yeah.
So we're building up at the end of this season to a tour, which again, I know, if you were to rank your memories, the cups and the medals and the teammates are one thing, but pulling on that Great Britain shirt, nothing meant more than that to you.
Looking at it now, probably it means a lot to me. But at the time, I think everybody's different. But for me, it was like, right, I want to play for Bradford. I want to get in the first team. Then it's like I want to win a Challenge Cup, and then you kind of just go along. In my head, I was like ticking them off at one at a time, and you're always looking forward rather than taking it in. But now, when I look back and I think, the tours that we had, and I played for England when I was 18, and played for Great Britain the year after. It's a massive achievement, and something that I wish I'd have enjoyed more at the time that I was playing. I think you just go in a mentality of just, ticking off games and playing, and you feel like your career's going to last forever, and it's week after week after week, and
especially when you're young.
I think
you're not getting injured, and
you
think you're
just think you're going to last forever. But yeah, it's 2006 tour when we beat Australia down there. That was fantastic. Brian Noble coach. That was a really good tour. 2008 were an absolute disaster. Really unenjoyable. I think there's more to a tour than just going and playing. You've got to go and enjoy the group of people that you're with. You've got to go and see the areas, go and see where you are, and socialise and mix. And I think the 2008 one were an absolute nightmare.
2006 was your brilliant suggestion that Blackpool was bigger than Bondi, better than Bondi.
That's why it was so good.
Blackpool were back. What is it?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, well, I got some right hammer for that during the week. And I went into that game like a bag of, like a nervous wreck. But luckily we won, so we became the last team that's beaten the Aussies in the Aussie soil. You've beaten them Aussies. Yeah, score.
Hold on.
How many times?
What?
How many times?
Leon.
How many times? I'm asking how many times. Well, you have, but how many times?
Did I beat the Aussies?
How many times have you beaten Aussie? How many times have you beaten Aussie in Australia?
Mate, we beat them by the record score.
Go on.
33-10, 1992.
Nice, that's what I'm asking. And how many times have you beaten them there, though?
In Australia,
Yeah.
Once.
Once.
Melbourne, world record score. We were 22-0 at half time.
Chip and chase.
Nothing better. Nothing better.
No.
But also, Leon, but just going back, so I'm just looking at my work colleague here in my side. We're looking at the summer bash from there, and we were speaking earlier before you came and about promoting and marketing the game. And what we've seen over the last few days, look at the Leeds Stadium from there. Forget about the performance on the field because it's shambolic. And then you look at the Saints Salford game. Then you look at the Catalans, and you look at Wigan. Then you look at the bash. And we're just saying here now, because I think at times with rugby league we're too secretive. From a promotion and marketing point of view. And like we all know what's going to happen with the Sky deal, the League One clubs and the Championship clubs. Unfortunately, their money's going to be gone. If it's may not all totally gone, but I would imagine very little is going to go to them. Yeah. So with what we have produced this weekend, from a marketing promoting point of view, surely we should be going to the new broadcasters, ITV and Channel 4 and Channel 5, and tell them about the products we've got as a sport. Surely,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just. I think that the way that things are being produced now on TV wise is different. And you've got so many different social media platforms. You've got Netflix and Amazon and all these different channels. I'm not sure, is the demand still there for the sport like ours? Is the demand there for, because this weekend's been fantastic because we had real big games and the summer bash was big. But if you go to a League One game and you've got 500 people there. Do broadcasters want to broadcast that kind of?
I understand where you're coming from.
That's just my outlook on it all. Is we know what products we've got. It's a fantastic product, brilliant games. But for trying to entice companies in to buy our products, then maybe going to watch London Scholars versus Doncaster and there's 300 people in crowd. Would that be attractive to them?
What's interesting is that before that game, we talked about it a bit in the early part of the programme, was the World Cup qualifier between Greece and Norway. So I think you're building an event there. The shame was that at the same time that Scholars were playing, London Broncos were playing. Yeah. The same time that the game was on in Barcelona, which you'd hope the whole of the sport would focus on. Hull were playing Warrington. That's two of our better supported teams are playing each other exactly as well. All of those fans can't watch what's going on in Barcelona. We have games on a Friday night when there's 4 fixtures all taking part. Do we have to be cleverer?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And then you also look at the Thursday night fixtures. You could have Hull FC versus Warrington or Hull FC versus St Helens. When that's a 2.5, 3 hour journey on a Friday when the M62 is terrible. People can't get there. People don't want to sit and the people don't want to watch a really big game with an empty stadium.
I think that's the thing about broadcasters. Yeah. If it's a big game, it can't be in front of no people.
No.
So even if you've got, Newcastle Thunder did really well to get nearly 1,500.
Yeah, you've got a good crowd. Yeah.
So that's a broadcaster would be interested in that because there's a backdrop and an atmosphere to it, and they wouldn't be that bothered it was a League One game as long as it was competitive.
Yeah, a big shout out to Newcastle doing it because that's a good crowd. So they're obviously doing something right, aren't they, promoting the game? But yeah, I agree with you completely. Even at the Challenge Cup games, our crowd for the Challenge Cup finals going down and down. So when I first started playing the semi-finals, we played against Leeds in the semi-final, McAlpine Stadium, 25,000. 1990.
We have started to address that by making it a double header. I think again you're turning those semi-finals into an event. You're acknowledging that.
But I'm just mean
But you're right.
The timing of them.
But that was partly a rivalry between Leeds and Bradford at the time as well.
Yeah.
Because not only was that drawing big crowds from both of those clubs, but in the same way that we enjoy watching a Hull derby, I think other people neutrals wanted to see Leeds playing Bradford.
But the question is, how do we get it back to that though? If we
games.
If we put a double header on and we can't even fill the stadium up, that's with four sets. There's 4 teams there. When we could do that with 2.
Well, it's really unfortunate this week that two of the games at Magic Weekend are a repeat of the games we had 2 weeks ago in the Challenge Cup.
Yeah.
And when you've already got
but when you've
already got loop fixtures, what you've got are Wigan playing Warrington maybe 5 times every year, and you're detracting from.
Well, the one year we played Leeds 5 times, or maybe it might even have been 6. And it dilutes the game.
Crowds will dissipate.
Yeah, it dilutes the occasion.
So you played in the Hull derbies, you know how important they are, how passionate they are. But even the interest in those has waned a little bit because they come along so often. They play each other in pre-season as well as in the league.
I don't think you need to play each other more than 3 times during the year. The big clubs like the derbies, it kind of dilutes it.
Yeah.
I know the big paydays for the clubs, so that's where the importance comes for it. Really, but as a fan of watching on television, you don't want to watch teams play each other 5 times a year, do you?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think anybody does.
Well, if Workington and Whitehaven, which is the derby that you've just come away from, they only play each other twice.
I'll play pre-season as well.
But twice in the season, there's no loop fixture.
No.
But they are. But you'll attest to the fact that they're big games. They mean a lot because you get one at home and one away.
Yeah, that's it. You're far better. 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Mentioned I went into a shop in Blackpool which sold old rugby programmes, and I've got this, which is the 2006 Challenge Cup final, which is a bit tatty, so I can't really sell it on eBay because people are complaining at me. But Leon played in it, so I'm getting to sign it and we'll give it away. Because that's the kind of rubbish we give away on this programme. Stuff bought from shops for £3 for a pound. What a bargain! I could have spent a fortune in there, but I only had one suitcase, so it was not good. Transfer news. Shock news as Hull FC have signed Josh Jones for the 2020 season. We already knew that.
It's not shock, is it?
So supposedly to replace Joe Westerman, who could well be moving back to Castleford.
Or to Wakefield, apparently.
Was he going back to Cass?
Apparently.
Oh,
they're interested.
That'll be a big one.
It's all going now. The transfer wheels have started in motion, as we mentioned earlier. Danny Maguire is not leaving Hull KR. He will be staying in a backroom role there.
Recruitment manager.
He'll be ringing you. Get the boots out.
No chance. But they burn them.
In both the top 2 divisions, we've got 6 points now between first and second. Is that something you're surprised about at this stage of the season, that there's one team that is ultra consistent above all others?
Not really, no. No, not with Saints recruitment. And I think they just carried on where they left off from last year.
They've got a wider squad this year, do you think?
I just think that they've stayed healthy, haven't they, for quite a long time. I think the quality of Coop's been absolutely outstanding. Nguama's a very good signing. They blooded the youngsters in a little bit more than they did last year. Last year they kept basically the same 7 team every week till the end of the year, and it just didn't work by the end of the year by the big games. But they're bringing in Bentley, they're bringing in the hooker who's coming in, they're bringing in a few back rowers, and they're blooding the players in. So
Jack Wellsby looks fantastic, a young kid at full back.
Yeah, so in the games where you need to bring these guys in to give them some experience of playing first team rugby, they're starting to. I think they've learned the lesson from last year. I think Coop's been a fantastic signing from. I know he's a crowd favourite there. He's made as bigger impact as Ben Barber did for me. Probably more so with the ball. Very clever with the ball. Very good positional wise. So as an ex-Saints boy, I'm happy to see that margin now.
And Toronto again. Did you expect with their recruitment that they would be at just over the halfway?
If Toronto don't go up this year, it'll be a crime.
Would you have them in Super League? Because I know Super League wants to put some barriers into expansion teams, but
100%. Yeah, I mean, you can't knock anybody who knocks Toronto off what they've done are idiots, because they've paid the way. They've started at the very bottom of the league. They've taken no money off the RFL, so it's cost them nothing, and they've paid for the flights. They've paid for absolutely everything to be where they're at, and they've not come in off a gift off the RFL. They've not just come into Super League. They've come in at League One, and they've done everything the right way. So anybody who knocks them it's ridiculous.
And they've signed a calibre of player that above what they needed to get to where they want to be at the moment. It's almost like they're a Super League club in waiting. When they were in League One, they were a Championship club in waiting. the young Leon Pryce had been offered a chance to the broader experience to play in Toronto, would you have taken it? Would you have considered it?
Not the young Leon Pryce. I think Leon Pryce, when he went to Catalan, 27, 28, once I'd fulfilled my dreams of playing, Wembley, and because they're a team that are growing, they're a team that are building. I think for me as a player, once I'd done that, once I'd won the trophies, then it were time to look elsewhere and to experience a different culture than 28, 29, and yeah.
Well, we've got 2 former coaches in the shooting, of course, and now we know that Ottawa are coming in next year. There's a job. You fancy that one,
fancy it?
No.
Have we talked about Leeds yet? Anyway?
No, we're saving that till after 7. Well, because we wait till 7, he has a rant.
I don't even know what we're
I tend to cry. You'll back him up.
I would drive it up here, and I'm thinking, oh God, I better get there. I'm thinking, I hope I don't miss the Leeds bit.
No. We've saved for you. Don't worry. Don't worry.
So Ottawa definitely in, are they?
Not definitely, but there's still some. I think final hurdles.
No, they're in.
Well,
New York are in.
The actual wording doesn't say they're in.
Does it?
It says they're in principle. So
Right,
I think there are another
okay.
couple of things. It's different with Ottawa because they bought Hemmel's licence, so theoretically they're already in because they've got a licence.
Okay.
But I think there's still 1 or 2 things they'll need to fulfil, financial guarantees, that kind of thing.
But there's money men behind it though, aren't
there's money, but they've only got about 8 months to recruit a whole team and the coaching staff, so that's not long.
No.
Well, they're going in League One, are they?
League One. And then New York have been told to come back in 2020.
To be fair, it won't take them long to recruit for League One.
No. Well, I was going to say, you would know.
Yeah.
If
2 minutes.
If Eric rings you, are you available?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. No problem.
There'll be a team full of journeymen then, won't it?
Oh. Not if Leon's coaching. The attractive
Well, if you've only
got...
but for League One though, are they going full time?
I wouldn't have thought. Well, they don't have to, but
if they go full time, you'll blow people away, not like Toronto did.
Well, I think we'll put your CV forward.
Thank you.
We'll get
If somebody will give me a job.
You miss it at the moment?
Not too much. No, I don't miss it at all. If I'm honest with you, at the moment, I've spent a good part of 18 months being up in Cumbria 4 or 5 days a week, and I've got a 19-month-old baby boy at home, so I spent a lot of time away from and another 2 kids and my wife. So I spent a lot of time away from home, which you've got to do. It's with the part of the job, and I knew when I signed there, but to enjoy a bit of time back with my family now.
Tell you what, the Cumbrian people are absolutely stoned by me out the back Rugby League.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
I go there quite a bit, whether it's Whitehaven or Workington or wherever Barrow. They're just absolutely mad out there.
Love it, yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of it's to do with how far away they are from any kind of Super League exposure.
Do you feel as though it's been neglected up there?
I think it's a crime. I think it's a crime that not one of them. That there's not a Super League club from there. Even if it were Cumbria, or if it was West Cumbria, or just a franchise. But I think it's very different up there to how it is down here. A lot of the players, they all work at everybody works at Sellafield.
Yeah.
So
people are on good money as well.
People are on 35-40 grand a year before rugby. So the rugby's just a little top up. Whereas
you can't pay that wages.
No, like if you said to somebody from Cumbria, right, I've had a look at you, you're pretty good. Do you want to come down here? You're going to play first team. We'll give you 20 grand a year, but they're on 35 grand a year already. There's not the money. People know that there's not much chance after finishing rugby just to jump into a 35-40 grand a year job that they've already got.
Mr. Kukash as well, there was talk about him going up to Cumbria, and
that fell through, didn't it?
Did he have a meeting with him? Did he ever come and work?
No, I heard about him coming up, but he never materialised, did it? No.
I don't know. Did it? Did he?
No, I don't think he's materialised.
Well, he's moved on to Liverpool now, hasn't he?
Yeah, but it was on about Cumbria Lakers.
Cumbrian Lakers,
something like that. But he never came to Workington or Whitehaven or whatever.
I think the important thing, and I think Scully's mentioned it before, is that when the World Cup was staged in Cumbria in 2013, and that was mainly Scotland games, 8,000 people guaranteed start because they were seeing the stars of the game that they don't normally see. We talked about games going on the road, and that there should be an obligation for the Super League clubs to take at least one of their fixtures.
I think that'd be good.
So Wigan Saints are up in Workington.
It'd be massive, yeah. But then, but the problem is with that is that game at home, it draws 20,000, doesn't it? That revenue for the club is, you can't take that away from them. That becomes the problem.
Greg's asked an interesting question. This goes back to Danny Maguire, new head of recruitment at Hull KR from next season. This might be one for Sky as well. Maybe all Super League clubs need the next player as head of recruitment at the top end rather than a CEO / business staff getting input on how they spend the salary cap.
But
trust you, Scully,
right.
pick the new
What, you'd give Scully $2 million?
Leeds Rhinos head of recruitment, Gary Schofield. Go.
Listen, well, first of all, right, if I was head of recruitment, first of all, you've got to say to your coach, what sort of player do you want? What sort of tactics are you going to play? Are you going to play an open attractive game? Are you going to play a boring game of rugby league? Are you going for size? You want pace? You want creativity? You know, so...
Don't you need all of that?
Well, you do, but one coach might just want to play a boring game of rugby league. You know, where it's just hit down the middle, play off the back of penalties, and then look for creativity when they get the opposition 25. You know, so the recruitment's not just to say, oh, well, I'll tell you what, he seems to can play. I recommend him. It depends really what sort of game and what sort of rugby league the coach wants to play.
The biggest problem you get.
If I was head of recruitment, I know what I would be saying to the coach. I would be looking at players. Forwards who have got more mobility and pace, halfbacks who can play with vision and awareness, and I've got plenty of speed in the centres and the fullback. That's what I would be looking for. So mobility, creativity, and speed.
I think what the real big importance is that whoever's doing the recruitment is very, very close with the coach, because your coach can't be having players that are coming in that he doesn't want.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's where it gets
You've got to communicate with
You've got to communicate.
That's the way it's worked at Wakefield.
You've got to communicate.
There's been an acknowledgement that perhaps they don't have the same money to spend as other clubs, but the relationship between the guy who's paying the players and the guy who wants the players is very, very close.
Well, that's when your communication breaks down. You've got a director of rugby bringing in players that you don't know that are coming in, and that's where the problem will begin.
Which happens in Australia.
Happens everywhere, in every sport.
Coaches tend to be given their squad rather than...
Well, in the other sport, in football now, the sporting director, he tells the coach, these are the players we're bringing in, and you've got to make them better players, and he don't want them. You know, so how can you work like that?
There's not many there, though, in football.
Oh, yeah, there's a few of the big clubs. Oh, Leon now, they're the big clubs. Oh, they're all... The
big clubs and Leeds United.
They're all at it. They're all at it. Yeah, just a sporting director. He picks the players, and the coach has to sort it out.
As long as you know that when you first sign your contract, it's fine.
Don't be kicking Leeds United.
No, is it?
Although we were thinking about selling Leeds in crisis t-shirts outside on the road as well.
Well, they're both in crisis now, aren't they? I mean, football teams have bottled it, and Leeds Rhinos.
Said a man whose team was relegated.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not a big. I'm a Bradford City fan, but
when they go.
I like sticking in the boot to Leeds because there's so many passionate Leeds United fans and so many fans from Bradford that support Leeds as well. That's illegal.
Shouldn't be allowed.
When
you're born,
if you're born in Bradford and that's where you're from, you know not to support Leeds. You know not to support Leeds at anything, no matter what, at any time. That
should be indoctrinated. I hope you're doing that to your kids.
We have.
Scully supports West Ham. Our friend
I
Steve,
don't follow football, but they're my team. Yeah.
Stephen Wakefield. He says, "Can you give Paul McDermott a shout out? You met him on Saturday. There you go.
Paul McDermott.
His favourite McDermott. As the lad, St Helens got the luck last Friday, and the last try was a terrible error of judgment. The top teams get the look and others suffer. I ban video referees for good. I think one of Super League's top players, one of Scully's favourite players in Super League, wasn't too happy with the video refereeing.
Who's his favourite player?
Mark Sneed. Good job, video ref. There for this decision. Laughing, crying emoji, laughing, crying emoji, laughing, crying emoji.
I missed the game. Did he get it wrong?
I didn't see it because I was in Blackpool. I was at a Eurovision party.
It was contentious.
Did he give the try on the spot, though, didn't he?
He gave the try on the field, and it looked as though Batchelor might have lost contact with the ball as he went over, but not sufficiently for the video referee to overturn it.
Bentley won it.
I tell you what, you've seen worse given by so-called fingertip touch or this sort of thing. Me, I would have given it. I would have kept it.
I think there's always issues in every game that don't turn on the final decision, and I think that the fact that what that said more than anything was that this never say die attitude that Saints are synonymous with is still there.
Yeah, you never have the Saints ever. That's just inbred in, and that's inbred you practice drop goals, you practice being behind. You know that it's an ethos that's thank you very much. It's already ingrained in the squad, ingrained in the town, and when you come through that team, you know that's the game's never over, never.
And I think the way in which they started, it was almost too good to be true. 16 points up inside 12 minutes, but
oh god, Got Albert.
Have some chocolate. Yeah. Having a wonderful playing that sort of expansive rugby that Saints are synonymous with, and when you were there, was a character of them. But the way Salford came back, led by Rob Louis, to score 30 unanswered points against that Saints team was remarkable. Well, it's almost like Salford then got caught in their own headlights. How do we close this game out? Well, the last 5 minutes they weren't great in game management.
Just at the end of the game, I got a message from the boss. Salford dressing room in crisis. I tell you what, it didn't look in crisis, did it? The first.
You did get some stick about that.
The first 12 minutes, Saints were spectacular, but boy oh boy, but then Salford. They just thought, well, I'll tell you what, we've got nothing to lose here. The forwards got ripped in, and then the creativity of Robert Louis and Jackson Hastings. And what I like about that partnership is the balance of it. Robert Louis decided to play second man out nice and with, so all Jackson Hastings would just fed him. And then when Robert Louis wanted the rest, Jackson Hastings took charge. The variation then was absolutely sensational. And they don't play the right side, the left side, they're all over the place. And that's the sort of confusion that they were doing. But 9 levels at the back. I tell you what, how quick! I didn't realise how quick he was until
he's a good player.
Good player, and he's visited an awareness. But I didn't realise how quick he was from there. And certainly scoring that second try, support play was brilliant. But I tell you what, there's a bit of a dressing room mess. I tell you what, I like.
Where's the trouble come from?
It was after the Hull KR game, with the Challenge Cup. You reckon the players were literally nearly fighting each other because 7 of them were already signed with other teams, and 7 of them were talking, I've signed for this club and I've signed for that club, and so what it's like in dressing rooms anyway. But I tell you what, if that dressing room's a mess at Salford, I'd like that sort of attitude and confidence in the Leeds dressing room.
Here we go.
You know what I mean?
Are we starting?
You know what I mean? No, we're not starting.
It's 7, isn't it? It's 7 o'clock.
What about the big transfer though last week? Junior Sow to Wakefield, big Paulie. Sent to Salford.
Tell you what, when I saw
presumably to get fit.
When I saw him on telly, he's had his haircut and he looks slim. Yeah. Unless it's the shirts at Salford.
Is it just a trade swap?
It's next a month on.
It's a month
on.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But he played well, didn't he? And Chris Chester sent him there for one reason.
To get game time.
But obviously his attitude's been on because he wants to kick up the backside. So he said, well, go on then. Go prove yourself over there and we'll see what happens.
I think if Waker can keep hold of... who have they got the centre?
Junior Sow.
If they can keep all of Junior Sow, that'll be a really astute centre.
Well, they need a centre, don't they?
And they've let Mark Horrow go today.
Just in
just
Have they let him go?
Yeah.
Where's he gone?
It's just released by mutual consent because they're bringing in a big second row from Manly, apparently.
My understanding is he was retiring at the end of the season
anyway,
was why
he'll go back home.
Got upset about the Wakefield Express, saying he was not offered a contract.
So, in terms of dressing rooms that might not have that spirit and togetherness, we won't name names, but obviously there might be some around that clearly have that missing at the moment. How do you gain them? You'll have been in.
I've not been.
Because Scully says you can't. It's something you can't coach, and it's something you've either got or you're not.
I think from the thing is for me, when I played 7 years at Bradford, we nearly won every game. Played 6 years at Saints, nearly won every game. You can't be in a bad dressing room, in my opinion, if you're winning games. Like if you're winning week in, week out, there's no arguing, there's no bitchiness, there's no idiots. It's a pretty united group, and the teams I played in. So it's not something I'm really experienced at. Every team I've played in have been.
But you've had to create the right dressing room at Workington as well. So, it's not just about bringing in players. It's creating the right atmosphere for those players to feel as though they're enjoying themselves.
Yeah, I think it's the players that manage. You can bring players in, but it's the players that manage the kind of the ethos of what they want, of what's acceptable and what's not. The players have got to manage that. If you're turning up, there's only so much a boss can say. There's only much. If you tell a player to be on time and he keeps on turning up late, you can fine him so many times. Then you can either sack him or not. But if the players are coming up to you and say, "Listen, it's not acceptable here," and they run it and they keep you in order, I think it's the players that are just as much as anybody else. I know that when I were at Bradford, I were terrified of your Jimmy Laws, Brian McDermott.
What was Brian like for a young kid?
Well,
intimidating.
You just won't mess with him. Just show him respect. You won't, would you? Like when you're young. When you're young, when I come through, it probably worse in Scotland's there when he come through, that the big guys, the senior guys, Bernard Dwyer, Stuart Spruce, Mike Forshaw, Jimmy Laws, Brian McDermott, you just don't mess with them kind of guys. You show them respect. If they tell you to jump, you jump. You tell you to pick them up, you pick them up. And then they accept you, and then you can come into the changing room, and then you're okay. And whatever them guys said, you did. You don't question it. You don't even think about questioning it. Just do it. And that way, they like you, that you're showing them respect, and then they bring you into group and you're all right.
Has that changed, do you think?
Yeah, of course it has.
Under full-time professionalism?
It's not the same, is it? It's not the same.
Does that make it harder to meld a group of guys?
Kind of drifted out my last couple of years, I reckon. Young kids, coming in with their hairs all straightened and flashing clothes on and driving around in blooming flashy cars before they even play the flash.
It's like two scullies in the street.
Well, at the end of the day, well, they're all pampered, because I was just going to ask you the question then. When you got into that Bradford first team, into the first team dressing room, because I started at Hull, and me and Gary Devote, we made his debut the first game of the season, right? And we played all the first team games, but on training nights we had to get changed in the reserve team, in the A-team dressing room, right? And we wasn't asked until the following February until we could go into that first team dressing room. How long did it take you to get to that first team dressing room to get changed? It kind of
eased off a little bit then, but I started in one changing room where it were kind of mainly academy players, and I'd say it took me probably took me 2 or 3 years to get into the other side changing room where they were more of a
with the academy. But when you made your first team debut, on training days, did you get changed in the first team dressing room?
Well, once I played first team.
Yeah. Oh no, we didn't. We weren't allowed to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We older school than you guys.
So Arthur Bunting came into the reserve team dressing room. It was a Thursday night, and he said, "Right, you two, you've earned it now. You can start getting changed on training nights." And it took so from August until the following February.
On training nights,
even when you were playing first team, even though we're playing first team, on training nights we had to get changed in the reserve team until we're doing that respect.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like your generation, it would have been really tough.
No.
And each generation goes, it gets touched off, doesn't it? And then this generation is changing.
You've heard of stories, when Brendan Hill came to Leeds, he came in first team.
I'm good friends with Brendan.
Yeah, well, I know Brendan very well. He went straight to the first team dressing room and he put his clothes on David Ward's peg. Wardy came out from physio room and whatever. What's going on here? Just grabbed his clothes and slung him to straight in the dressing room. Dave Topless did the same with Fred Arcoy. You cannot go. You've got, as you just said. You said earlier, you've got to earn. You've got to.
I think there's one way. I mean, if you shoved in deep end, you've got to either earn respect by the way you play. But if you don't show any respect to your elders, I mean, it's just how most people get brought up anyway. It's just a general thing. But if the kids don't come in and show respect to the older senior guys, then I don't think it makes for a good dressing room. I think it's, for me, I didn't. Brian McDermott, Macca really looked after me. Robbie Paul really looked after me. The older guys liked me because we showed them respect. They knew I could play a bit, but first and foremost is you show them respect. Don't be cheeky. Do as they say. Don't come in and be too loud. Just keep your head down.
And I would imagine Brian tested you on a few occasions because that's the kind of guy that.
He tested me all the time, but he liked me, and if he liked me, he looked after me and didn't give me too much stick. So.
Right, Leon, we've waited long enough.
Yes.
Phil's trying to avoid this. Right, I'm going to ask you the question then.
I've sort of
it's rotten. Right. Something is rotten in the state of LS,
right,
whatever.
So I'm going to ask you the question, and we know he's been gone now. I think it's nearly 12 months. But if Mr. McDermott was still at Leeds, would Leeds be in this mess?
Definitely not. No, I think it was the wrong move to get rid of him.
Right.
I think.
So you've seen Kevin's comments today, haven't you? And we'll talk about that. But if McDermott was in charge, would Leeds be in this mess?
I don't think they would. No, I thought it was the wrong move at the time that they sacked him. In my opinion, I thought. Well, it's proven not to be right, hasn't it? Because they've sacked a new coach within 8 months.
No, not even that.
Less.
14 games.
Yeah, they've sacked a new coach within 6 months. So whatever they were thinking of doing has been wrong. And there's no right.
That is what Kevin has said. It was going in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Well, I must admit as well, because when I've read Kevin's piece on it, he's not saying anything regarding with a new stadium because that's magnificent. But what he's saying, and I applaud what he's saying, because it's about time. It's about time we had some bloody openness about what's going on at Leeds from there. And I'm sure behind closed doors, him and now Richie Agar and his back. Richie Agar, okay, people have inquired about the job, and they say, well, at the moment it's Richie Agar's job. But I would imagine that Kevin and Agar, because whether we like it or not, Kevin is part of the coaching setup. He's on the sidelines and everything from there. So he's part of the coaching setup there now.
What's the openness though? What do you mean the openness?
Oh, just saying
what's going on.
The place is wrong. The place and it's eroded, and it's not off the field what it's, but it's on about from a point of view with the playing staff. And when you look at that playing staff from there, they're simply not good enough. They're not good enough.
Well, it's proven it, hasn't it? I don't ever like to slag teams off or slag players off. It's not my thing, but it's proven in the performances and the results that they're not anywhere near what they want to be. And if I've watched the last 2 games, which is Bradford and Castleford, and realistically, the last game I watched against Cass and Bradford, for the first time, I thought they're actually in a relegation battle. Like, realistically, they can go down. Like, and I've never ever thought that before, ever in my life.
Mr. sitting there with a tracksuit next to Richard Agar said, "We are not going to fix this overnight. How long will it take? Well, we're doing everything we can to change it, and I feel now in my gut that we're on a much better path. But like I've said, the problems here have been deep-rooted. The place has been rotten, and it's been left to erode." Just before we move on from that quote, what could he possibly mean? The coach has gone, because I was at Blackpool on Saturday. The coach walked
how far does the rotten bit go back? Because
the 2 Bryans walked past me, then 2 minutes later the Hetheringtons walked the other way. It was quite amusing.
So it just depends on what he means by the places gone rotten. Like how far back does that go?
If we weren't
and that's the bit we don't know. We don't know who he's referring to. And the other thing is obviously taking some degree of culpability.
Do you agree what Kevin said? I totally agree.
I can't dispute it because
we don't
spend each day in the club. I don't ever watch training and know if there's an attitude problem. What I do see on the field is a complete lack of leadership at the moment. And everything you've been saying about respect for the older players and having a hierarchy there that you look to, particularly if things are going wrong. Yeah. Those are the guys
when they go wrong. Absolutely.
That's when those guys say, right, this is what we're doing to get out of it, and and as a young kid, you do it. I don't see any leadership in that Leeds dressing room at the moment. I don't see somebody who is standing up and saying, this is the path we need to follow, and even if it means for a couple of games it's 5 drives and a kick and no mistakes, we're going to get some wins and that's going to build the confidence. I see a lot of individuals, some of whom actually are doing okay stats wise, but I don't see a team.
When you're playing poorly and the confidence is gone, you do play as individuals because you try to fix things on your own, and that's what they need to fix them. As doing as a team and as a group. But my question as an outsider, and I don't, like I say again, don't want to be controversial. I just want to know, if you would employ somebody and you say this man is the right man for this job, how do you get that so wrong that you sack him after 14 games?
Well, and also
senior players have gone into the management that says we don't want him. Simple as that. Now, that's what's happened.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. But for me,
the senior players who aren't performing.
Yeah. The senior players who aren't performing, they didn't like working under David Furner, so they've got.
I'm not sure it's
the players have got David Furner the sack. Of course they have.
I think.
But what I'm saying, Sco, is though, if you're head of Leeds Rhinos, which is a massive.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Surely that your due diligence to look into the person that you're signing, the style of rugby he plays, if he's going to get along with the players, what he's all about, just everything. What you go into to make sure you get the right man, surely won't leave you sacking him after 14 games.
And the person responsible for that is the person making the statement that the club is wrong.
And also as well, what was being said, certainly after 4, 5, 6 games was, we're in transition. And it's going to take time,
which I think is right.
Yeah,
and I think every club in a salary cap sport has to go through that. I mean, you saw that at Bradford. There is a point where you're World Club champions. There's a point where you're battling for survival, and some of it is to do with too many players coming off contracts. But there is a cyclical thing.
I think
I can't believe Saints haven't been at Wembley for 11 years.
Since last time, because I was there last time.
Yeah, but I growing up in the early years of Super League, Saints and Wembley were synonymous.
Yeah, but the problem is, Phil, is from not being there, so say you come through a golden period of doing well. The drop shouldn't be to the bottom of the league.
Absolutely, and certainly not 3 seasons out of 4.
Yeah, 3 seasons out of 4. So if they dropped to mid-table and they were okay, like they were doing under Brian Mack sometimes, it's kind of acceptable. You can say, listen, we're trying. It's a bit
There's
of
some kids in the
squad. We've got a little bit like Man U at the moment. The mid-table, they're the biggest team that everybody talks about. They're the premier team in England. They've not won it since Fergie left, but they're there and thereabouts mid-table. People are happy, but the mid-table, not bottom of the league. Yeah. The difference is Leeds are look like relegation material.
I think the other thing that's really interesting, because you mentioned Man United there, is that whenever you've had a coach who has built an aura around them and success, and Ferguson will be the obvious one. Leeds have had similar with Brian.
Yep.
That this is the era where they've won most trophies. He is the most successful coach. When he goes, for whatever reason, that must leave a void for the players. When most of that squad have played under a certain guy, a certain.
But not only did he go though, then it went Peacock had gone and Cynthia had gone.
But the next guy in has an almost impossible task.
Absolutely.
Whoever it is.
Like David Moyes gone straight away, 6 month bump, see you later on.
Yeah, but also, well, first of all, I'll address that with Alex Ferguson knew that side were getting crap, so that's why he left. And he knew that side were bailing out. Leeds knew from 2015 with the golden era, as all the players what you've mentioned there. Leeds should have been planning 2 years. 2 years. Leeds should have been planning 2 years from 2015.
And is that what's rotten?
This is what Kevin's going on about. So that should have been planned.
So is he
back in
criticising Gary
2013?
Hetherington?
Of course it is.
Who is the guy who's paying his wages?
Of course it is. It's the recruitment. So that should have started in 2013, 2015. Then we know in 2017 they won the grand final. And so then, these kids who were building up from 13 to 15 to 17, they were all ready to start. I wouldn't say they would have filled all their massive boots,
the major
but
issue?
they would have been ready for first team football and handle the pressure.
I know a lot of people don't like to talk about Leeds for too often, but the fact is that the Leeds-London game is the one that everybody is looking forward to now at Magic more than any other.
I'm not, because we're going to get beat.
But the
honestly, no.
You think we'll get beat?
I just can't see Leeds winning the way we play, mate. And I'll tell you what, it upsets me to say that.
Yeah,
the way I saw Leeds play on Thursday. Boy, oh boy, do you know what, Leon? Right, I was there with some ex-players on Thursday. There was me, Craig Innes went over. He'd come up from New Zealand. He's a players' agent, so he came with Ian Scott from work. And Francis Cummins and Colin Maskell, right? How embarrassing is this? They must have been at least between 100 and 120 people said to the four of us, listen, you four, get your boots on because you can do better than this lot. Yeah. Well, how embarrassing is that?
Yeah,
how embarrassing. And do you know what? All the four of us kept saying, yeah, we could. Yeah, we could. How embarrassing is it, Leon? It gives me no joy in saying this. I'm as upset as any Leeds fan because I'm a Leeds fan now. I'm a Leeds fan, and this bloody well upsets me. The way we are going.
Do you think the issue is that it took the management at the club too long to realise that they needed to invest in marquee players? Because they had this really rigid pay structure. They had a whole generation.
But what the marquee players doing this year?
Well, the two marquee players they've got have been two of their best performers. When Conrad Hurrell doesn't play, they look half the team. And Merrin, whatever you think of stats, is right up there.
The problem is that
did they wait too long to invest in marquee
players?
Knowing that they're irreplaceable.
Maybe not even marquee players, just players that fit into a structure that you want that you maybe could pay. Say somebody might cost you 100 grand or 70 grand, but you've got a kid at Leeds who'll play for 12 grand. You're saving money, but the quality of player maybe not be as high. Mm-hmm. That might, and the problem then left that for a bit longer until you're in a bad situation.
Yeah,
they've left bringing in big, massive players until it's a bit too late, isn't it? Really,
I think that's
it could be a problem.
Issue.
It is part of the issue.
Also, as well, Leon, because as I say, you've been a coach now for the last 2 years or so. Plus, as well, you're
and a very successful one, no matter what Workington may.
But because I think Callum Watkins, I know Phil keeps saying about the injury is a bit of confidence, but I think the captaincy is a burden for him. Yeah. Would you take the captaincy off him?
I would. I'd take captaincy off him to relieve him some pressure.
Correct.
Just to let him play his game.
Absolutely.
Not because I think he's doing anything wrong. I'm a big admirer of Callum Watkins. I played against him.
Let him play with that smart back.
Let him play. Don't let him play. There's too much pressure on him at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think he's a focal point for a lot of the fans as well. I think a lot of the fans are putting out the frustrations through him. He's just coming back from an ACL injury. He's a world class player. Form is temporary, class is permanent, and I think I believe he'll get his form back. It's just a tough time. It's just a tough time for everybody at Leeds at the moment.
And he isn't a vociferous player. He's not one of the ones that's going to rally the guys around him with a passionate speech.
That's why he should be captain, Phil.
No, but it's like we've said before.
If he wasn't, who would be?
When Kevin Sinfield was captain,
if he wasn't, then who would you put as captain?
It didn't stop Jamie Peacock being the guy who went round and rallied the troops. So I'm not sure that the captaincy itself is an issue. I think being seen as the captain of a team that's underperforming is an issue. But where are the
Callum's playing nowhere near the play what he is, isn't he?
But where are the well? I think what some.
Well, I'm asking you a simple question then. Who would you put as captain?
That's what the thing about leadership.
I would put as captain, and I think he's been one of Leeds' best players when he comes off the bench, and he was the 18th man on Thursday. I'd have Cuthbertson as captain.
I don't think he plays enough minutes.
Well, no, but for me, he would play minutes for me.
But I think if you want to get the absolute best out of a marquee signing like Trent Merrin, I think you bring him in. You say, right, your job to rally the troops. You're the captain.
The man who picks the team, who we assume is Richard Agar, despite my hilarious stylings on social media about Kevin Tidfield wearing a tracksuit, sat next to the coach and looking like he is, for all intents and purposes, the coach, on Richard Agar. We've been inundated with approaches, says Sir Kevin, which people still believe is true. But at this stage, we're 100% behind Richard. Everyone who's tried to make contact has been told the same thing. This club needs a period of stability. We need to get back focusing on what's important, and that's out on the pitch. I'm not one of these Richard Agar blamers for everything that's wrong in rugby league, because I think that's a silly thing to do. But if he's not going to be the permanent coach, shouldn't they look for someone who is going to be the permanent coach?
I think they are looking. I think that if the right person became available, they would go and get them tomorrow. I think the stability aspect is right. They never at this point intended that David Furner would only be there for 14 games, and you do need a period of stability where the players are being told the same thing every week.
And plus they're going to have to pay David Furner out.
But I also think that if the right man became available...
Sean Wayne's available. He's the right man for Leeds.
Benny said it should be Ronnie the Rhino. I don't know if that's coach or captain.
I'm going to say, I think, with Sean Wayne there, why would you not go for him?
Well, he'd certainly improve your defence overnight.
Well, he's going to improve everything. He's a proven winner. His track record speaks for itself. He's a born winner. He's a winner. That's what he is. And he's played at Leeds as well, hasn't
he? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that there should be more of an avenue for young British coaches to be assistants in Super League? Because Richard Marshall did a great job summarising on the television over the weekend, but he's not got a job at the moment.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard. Rugby league. There's not much money in rugby league, and there's only so many jobs. And unless you've kind of stayed at a club for a long time and you've got a good affiliation with the club and with the coach, it's hard to get yourself in there.
But if Leeds rang you up and said, "Look,
yeah,
we need an assistant,"
you'd snap their hands off, wouldn't you?
And if they said that's a Richard Marshall, even though he's been a head coach in the Championship, to be a Super League assistant is a step up the ladder.
Of course it is. Yeah, it's a massive step up the ladder. Massive step. To go from Championship, to go from League One or Championship to a Super League coach's assistant is a massive step up. Huge.
I think it should be mandated that part of your brief is to bring coaches through as well as players, and that Super League clubs should have on their staff a certain.
I think, to be honest with you, for Leeds at this moment in time, and certainly the Leeds fans, they just want a coach who's going to start a game winning. Mm-hmm. That's as simple as that. They're not bothered about who's going to be assistant coach or who's going to be the mascot or whatever. What they want a coach who's going to start getting back up that league table, because whether we like it or not, we are in a relegation battle.
There's 3 teams.
We are in a relegation battle.
I'm in a little bit of I don't know. My headspace is like I've got one part of my brain fighting another part. One part of me would love to see Leeds go down. As a Bradford lad, the humiliation.
Oh, Brian Noble in your magazine, they said no, he doesn't want Leeds to go down. So come on.
I'm saying me as a person.
Yeah, well, he's a Bradford person as well. Come on, he's a Bradford person. He's a Bradford person. He wants Leeds to stay up. Come on.
So I've got one part of me saying I'd love to see Leeds go down. Fantastic.
Bring back the derby.
Yeah, but then my other part is saying, as a game, we can't afford Leeds to go down. The game means more than a little bit of banter.
And I think that goes back to
we need Leeds. We need a good Leeds, not just
same like we do with Wigan.
Well,
we need them, whether we like it or not. We need in the top 5.
At the moment,
because they bring everything to the party, don't they?
All of the media focus is on how badly Leeds and Wigan are doing. It's not about how brilliant St Helens are, which it should be. So, and if it was Manchester United and Liverpool were suffering the same,
because they're the biggest, most successful clubs. That's why.
But as a sport, we've seen this weekend that big events involving bigger clubs bring in the profile that the whole of the sport needs.
We need Leeds. But we don't just need Leeds in. We need them at the top of the table, challenging.
I think the other thing that we mentioned just before you got here as well,
and we need Bradford up.
The game needs a plan.
I'm not saying they deserve just to go up because they can get 10,000 fans. But once they get up there, it's Super League's better for having a club that can attract
15,000.
And Super League's better for having a permanent club in London, which again, if in danger of being one of those teams that might become a yo-yo team. You don't want that if you want to raise the profile of your sport. The other thing I was saying before you got here was that one of the things that happened this weekend was the Rhinos Challenge in Skegness. 6,000 kids played. You've had experience of that. Now, we can't afford to lose that out of Super League either. I know that's not the Leeds club.
No. They won't lose that though, would they?
Well, the problem is that once you slip down, how much resource can you give to...
Leeds won't go down. They won't go down. I've been to
Leon.
They won't.
Leon. Hey, listen. You may not be watching very often. I'm telling you, I can't. Honestly,
I've watched the last 2 games.
I've watched more. I've watched more than 2 games. Listen, mate, I can't see where.
No, I'm telling you.
I can't see where the next win's coming from. Honestly, I can't. I can't, and also as well, you know yourself how everybody gets motivated to play Leeds, whether they play Leeds at home or whether they play Leeds at their ground. Everybody gets motivated. Leeds. So now, what the Leeds players should be saying to themselves, and then as a team collectively, simple. Hey, come on, hold on here. Let's grow some crystals here. Yeah. Let's roll our sleeves up. And let's go and prove to everybody that we don't want everybody saying what we are, which is absolutely garbage and rubbish at this moment in time.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? They've got it. Well, so they should. So they should have played for the biggest club in the game.
I agree.
They're playing now in a 45 million stadium, playing there every week, every second week. So it's quite simple. It's like playing in the semi-final every week.
Yeah.
But also, what they should realise, Leon, when you went to it, you were like that, lovely, great facilities, great dressing rooms, great service. We love coming playing here, great atmosphere. It's like playing semi-finals, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so why are these players not thinking, I tell you what, I love this atmosphere. Surely they can perform better than what they're doing.
You've upset people.
I agree.
You've upset people now. Because you're saying, no, just in general, all you three. I've just been listening. Yeah, because you're saying Leeds need to be in Super League, Bradford needs to be in
Hold on. I said Leeds could get relegated.
All right, they're not scoring.
I can remember saying that about Wigan on telly. I got the sense.
I'm not saying they need to be, but I'm saying the game as a whole, rugby league as a whole, we could do with the foundation teams in Super League.
Richard, the biggest thing will be this will be the biggest factor. If Leeds do finish bottom, does Super League get extended to 14 teams?
Said the conspiracy theory.
Do the goalposts get moved? I'll tell you what happens. The goalposts get moved. Oh, by the way, Bradford, Toronto coming up. Bradford, I've got 10,000 crowd. You're coming up. It's going to be a 14-team comp. Oh, we'll just move the goalposts back, and everybody's happy.
Could happen.
Could happen. Mark my words, it would really happen.
Hello to Dad, who says on Facebook, we need to rebrand this show to the Leeds Show. We spent the first 70 minutes of the show not talking about Leeds.
But you have to talk about them. It's the big. So let's look at the other end of the table.
Go on.
We already assume that St Helens are going to make the 5.
Yep.
And they deserve to, with the fantastic way they've been playing. As you said, they've got the balance all right. They've got better quality kids coming through. They've adapted to the 8 interchanges better than any other club. Yeah. But who are the other 4? Because there's no real consistency.
What are the top?
Yeah, who's going to make the top 5?
It's a bit of a who we got? We got Castle, Warrington, Catalan, Hull FC. I think any of them teams are a bit dangerous.
And even down to maybe Wigan if they put a run together.
Yeah, Wigan. Yeah, Huddersfield are dangerous. Huddersfield are starting to come good again.
Huddersfield?
No, I'm just saying. They're not. I mean, to make the top 5.
Yeah,
it's only 12 points, only 16 points, only 4 points.
Everybody's being consistent.
There's vulnerability in all of those
teams,
which makes it more exciting.
There's no reason why they can't go on a run. Them teams from Huddersfield up can't go on a run now.
So who are your 4 to join St Helens in the playoffs at the end of the season? Not that we'll hold you to it, obviously.
So what are we going on? 12. I'd probably say as it is, to be honest with you. I can't.
Right. So you think
at the moment it's hard to look. It's hard to say that Castle are only going to get better. They get players coming back. Hull FC are getting better week by week and getting players coming back from injury. Catalan Dragons are only ones that are inconsistent. They're usually inconsistent, so they may drop down. They may move up. You never know with them.
I think that's a great story, though. That on the back of winning the Challenge Cup, we hope that they would become a top 5 team. And even though they've had a couple of really poor results, to be third at the halfway stage,
they should have, with the money they spend.
That's a testimony, though.
With the money, the players that they spend, the quality of player that they have, they should not be out of the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the players that they've got. The calibre of players: Mickey Malorums, Sam Tompkins,
Sam Cassiano to get in mid-season, to go out and get. I mean, he made
they should be up there. They should be up there.
They should, but they never have.
That's the problem. That's been the problem, hasn't it?
But if they've got that level of consistency now, that's good.
We need them up there. We need them up there.
Tell you what, as well, Leon. When we talk about consistency. And the black and white show you play for us as well as what I did. Warrington turned over 140 points against him.
Mm-hmm.
Warrington get beat 19-12.
Yeah.
Lack of urgency, lack of enthusiasm, or just complacency by Warrington.
No, I think Hull FC now are starting to feel after effects of getting the players off long-term injuries, starting to find the form. And once you've got players back with experience that find the form and they've been out for a while, it changes the team. I mean, I said to Hull FC last year, they were copying loads. You're probably giving them it as well.
But, only one player.
Yeah, but they were copying loads, but they had half the team missing. Mm-hmm. And people were giving him it. I was saying, just give them chance to get the players back. Because when they have the full squad there available, they won't Challenge Cup 2 years and bound to in top 4.
Did it need Gareth Ellis coming back at that time? When,
it did do because he was a catalyst, wasn't
it? And again, without reverting everything to Leeds, is what they're missing a Gareth Ellis type.
Oh yeah, of course they are. Yeah.
And from what he's done, I think that's gone under the radar a bit because
maybe.
Not only is it coming back after being out for over a year, which you'll know how hard that would be on the body.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Yeah.
But he also, when he was in the team, everybody else gave an extra 10%.
Yeah. There's some players that when you're around them, and Scotty will say the same, when you're around them, you don't want to let them down. They hold that higher standard for themselves, that you don't want to drop your standards to a level that they look down on you or they're peeved off with you.
Or they think you've gone.
Or they think that you're taking the biscuit, you're taking shortcuts, you're not giving your all. Because you respect them so much, the worst feeling as a player is to think that your other own players are looking down on you. Not the fans, not the coach, but somebody you respect, who you want to impress, or people like Gaz. You want to put that extra thing in. You don't want them to think poorly of you, and it brings your standard up.
This is the point I make quite regularly on this show, Leon. It's similar, and I'm sure you did it yourself, because when I played, I looked at consistency in my performance week in and week out. And to be honest with you, I never needed a coach or a supporter or a director to say to me, I'll tell you what, you play well today, Scotty, because I did my own mirror test. And the way I judge myself as a player, in our day we played between 40 and 45 games. So I was looking at an average of 40 games a season. I looked at it where 9 games out of 10, I'd be judging myself when I wanted an 8 and 9 out of 10 performances. Yeah. Whereas in one week I might have a 6 or a 7. So 9 games out of 10, you are performing to a higher level. Did you ever need a coach or anybody else to tell you how you played? No. Or do you just judge yourself to say, I'll tell you what, yeah, I've done it right today?
No, I'd find the better players, or players that have played at a good level or a better level or the top level, are probably harsher on themselves than anybody could be constantly. So even if I never read the papers, even if I didn't listen to what the fans said really. And the coach, I'd listen to him if I respect him, because you want him to pick you. But deep down in your head, when you look in the mirror, you know whether you played well or not.
Correct.
You know what shortcuts you've taken, if you've taken a shortcut. You know if you've missed a tackle. You know if you've prepared right. You know if you needed to be fitter or not to play better in that game. And sometimes when you played well, you know when you played well. But I think the better players are very, very harsh on themselves.
Well, this say we're talking just about one of the best that's been in Super League, and certainly one of the best in Australia when he played for West Tigers in Gareth Ellis. All he just performs and do the best of his ability, what he's got, and that's all he can ask, isn't it?
Yeah. But he's a freak of a player, and I mean, Gaz Ellis he'll go down as one of the best forwards that we've ever produced in this game, and he did it on the biggest level, didn't he? But I agree with you what you were saying. Maybe having that influence of that player and a leader there in your team playing week in, week out, or even bringing him back, and what he's done, it's kind of gone on the radar. But yeah, speaking as somebody who's played with him, it definitely raises your standards as a player. I believe in that. Yeah.
2 quick questions while you're here, and it's great to have you.
Great to be here.
League One, which I know you've taken an interest in even after leaving Workington. That's the most competitive it's been this year. That Scholars are second. Joint top on the best winning run they've ever been in. Coventry are better this year. Keighley will be higher up, obviously, if they hadn't had the points deduction. This is again another division that tends to have gone under the radar.
Yeah, people don't realise.
But it's the most competitive it's been.
People don't realise. I mean, I think people within the game even don't even realise how hard it is to win in that league. If you look last year, Bradford Bulls spent an absolute fortune on the players. There were some full time, part time. They lost against us twice. They didn't get promoted automatically. York didn't win every game. There were teams that were spending money that it wasn't guaranteed. And it shows you.
Well, Newcastle are probably the big spenders in that.
Newcastle are big spenders. They're sat in 6th. There's no team that is undefeated. There's no team. Every one of them teams will lose a game again. Maybe 2 or 3 games. Everybody will beat everybody. There's nobody safe. Right down to I'd say Doncaster. Could get promoted still.
Well, also as well, because I was involved at Keighley, as you know, on the commercial side in 18. But you look at Keighley, they got deducted 12 points for the misdemeanours. But if they had been deducted them 12 points, they would have been in 3rd place. But what I found out when I was watching the league 1 week in and week out, the players that bring the A game every week, they got turned over by anybody.
Yeah.
You've got to bring your A game.
But that wasn't. That wasn't happening 2 seasons ago. There was a distinct division.
Who was it though?
There was a distinct division between the development teams.
But how many? I mean, of them teams were they like the teams that were spending a lot of money?
Well, But what we've got now is a much more competitive League One.
Yeah, but
because the development teams are better.
Yeah, they do better. So the teams are the big teams. As I say, they don't bring. If they don't bring your A game, you're going to get turned over.
When Toulouse and Toronto were in that division, there wasn't any point anybody else spending any money because they weren't going to get promoted.
Yeah, exactly.
But now that they've gone,
that's it. Yeah,
it's all, and that the Coventries and London Scholars are getting significantly better.
I tell you what,
it's a great division.
I tell you what, I'm getting plenty of stick from the Whitehaven fans and also to the chairman as well. By the way, at the moment in time, Whitehaven, many congratulations. You're the top of the league, but the chairman's been giving me stick because I tipped Workington to finish in second or third. Yeah. Workington at this moment in time are sixth, and Whitehaven at the top of the league. So I'm getting plenty stick. But Gary, many congratulations also to Charlo. I know Gary Charlo very well. You're doing a great job from there. It's all about consistency. But the town, they'll be on their way back. Malcolm, don't let me down, son. But as I said to Leon there, if you don't bring your A game in there, you get turned over. Look at Hunslet now. You know, if they don't, you can't. You can't relax. Correct. Absolutely. And that's the great thing about the competition.
We'll do our
predictions,
the championship, and we'll focus on Super League and the Magic weekend. But possibly the game of the round this weekend is Whitehaven and London Scholars.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Leeds and London's the biggest game. I don't. Yeah, as a Bradford lad, you don't need to say it. I'll say it for you.
Thursday night rugby in the Challenge Cup. Castleford versus Featherstone at the Jungle.
When's that this week?
In the Women's Challenge Cup. And of course, if you watch that game either live in person or on the Our League app, see I'm promoting it. You see RFL. You will see the best number 13 in rugby league, and she did it again yesterday. It's just in the paper. Rhiannon Marshall, she scored a great try. Dummied the Lancashire defence, 14-8 to Yorkshire. They won the first game of the Origin series. The second game is at a mystery location in June. Mystery location.
Ottawa.
It starts with an O, and it's iconic, so I'm told. Another entertaining game, and again, all the people that got there early will have enjoyed it. And this is how we get people to watch this, because they get exposed to it. And it was a good game. Look forward to the second game. As Yorkshire beat Lancashire, and of course the women have something that the men don't, because there's no Origin game for the men at the top level, because there's no room for it in the calendar, because people want it, but if there's no room, because we've got league fixtures and we've got everything else.
The other thing I was going to ask you, we talked about the World Cup qualifier that was this weekend between Greece and Norway. I think we're all delighted that more people are playing this great game and it's spreading. Jamaica in the World Cup for the first time.
Fantastic.
Something that you get involved in?
Who coaches Jamaica?
Jermaine Coleman.
Jermaine Coleman and Romeo Monteith.
Have you been asked to be involved at all?
Well, I was going to say, if somebody said...
I know Jason Robinson's going to be involved.
What about the Pearlers? Are we being asked to be involved?
Well, I don't know if the Pearlers know. I know Jason Robinson's involved.
Tell you what, because if that's the Pearl, what sort of publicity would that get for the tournament? You know, not just for Jamaica, but the World Cup itself.
This could be potentially massive, not just for the nation of Jamaica, but for the sport.
Yeah, for the sport as a whole.
They're going to be based over here, and there's so many Jamaican communities now that could be energised by getting their kids playing.
I know, but get
the biggest names of the game.
But I'd be asking people like yourself to get involved.
I'd be keen to help them. Yeah, I'll have a chat with Jermaine about that. Yeah, and I'll have a chat with Simone and Jason. So at some point I would like to help out.
Because this could be massive. 2021 is going to be big anyway. But to bring the first Caribbean nation over here and give them expo, maybe even be based in a city that's got a big Jamaican population.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
Will you be like the guys from the Cool Runnings? Just do it your way. Just express yourself. We don't know what we're doing, but we're going to surprise a lot of people.
They don't like that.
It's a great attitude.
No, because they feel that again, it's setting up something that they've worked really hard to get to where they are, and it's almost slightly condescending to say, oh well, you're going to do what the bobsleigh team did. They want to prove themselves in this sport on their own merits.
I don't think people.
Surely they're not going to play boring robotic rugby league.
I don't think they can.
I don't think it's condescending to talk about Cool Runnings. That's a real success story.
Of course it is, absolutely.
It's a happy story.
Absolutely. Of course it's a happy story. Express yourself.
Yeah. It's a happy story. It's a good story.
That's the Jamaican way, isn't it?
It's one of my favourite movies.
That's the Jamaican way.
You mentioned
the reggae style.
Of course it is. Get the little leg out. You know what I mean?
Get the little egg. It's good.
A dozen eggs.
I think it'll be good I think it'll be fantastic for the whole.
It's just great for the sport because it's another market that we can. We talk about Barcelona and the effect that might have on Catalonians, but Jamaica being in the World Cup and the World Cup being over here. I just think the good it can do in the Jamaican communities is enormous.
And also because for the guys that are obviously of mixed nationality. There's lots of people like myself who are born here but have Jamaican descendants, like grandparents or great grandparents. It gives them an opportunity to represent the nation.
And people like yourself, can go out and do really great work, not just moulding a team, but actually just impressing onto the community how much their lives can be changed by getting involved.
It means a lot. It does change your life, and it's good to have people like Ellery Hanley, Jez Robinson, and the legends that have played the game. Get them involved as well, and give us as a leaders and a focal point. It's the big names and good publicity for the game.
Mentioning the Pearl, his son scored a try for Lancashire against Yorkshire in the Academy Origin game on Saturday.
What's he doing playing for Lancashire?
At the Bash.
Pearl's a Yorkshireman.
Also playing for Lancashire, and you'll like this, Phil, because they were running low on players, because players were called up to play in Super League or whatever. 2 players from London Broncos. Because as we know, traditionally in Rugby League, Lancashire, London is part of it. Fulham
they both begin with that.
Yeah, Fulham played in the Lancashire Cup. And when Origin came back, Dominic Peters played for Lancashire.
Well, do they want people who want to play for Lancashire nowadays? Are they? They didn't in mind it.
Kai Pierce-Paul.
They didn't in mind it. They bottled it. They bottled it against us.
Did you beat them?
Oh, yeah, they've never been. We smashed them. They didn't want to play. Well, they bottled it, the Lancashire.
Lancashire won 36-30 in a very high-scoring but not very defensive game. And of course, Yorkshire won the first game. So then there's a third game. Oh, it says it also in the paper, so yeah, everyone knows it's also. So there you go. It sets up a decider. So it'll be a double header, I assume, with the men and the women.
Who won?
Lancashire 36-30. And Yorkshire won the first game 24.
All right, so it sets up a big one then.
It does. So some great talent there. I think it's on June 15th or something. But don't quote me.
Can I just ask this question? And I don't care what other people say on there. What happens if Leeds lose this game against London? Do you know, a little bit like when Wigan were right down at the bottom and they were in panic stations in 2006.
Well, they're going to break the salary.
They got Fielding in, and basically Fielding saved them that season.
Dobson.
Fielding and Dobson.
Yeah.
All right, okay, both of them.
They cheated.
Right, okay. What happens if Leeds lose this game this weekend to go bottom of Super League and they look like they're going down? Do you go out and just get more recruitments? Do you spend?
They can't, because the salary caps up.
No, but
the only way they could do it, Leon, is
what do they do then?
What they'd have to do, they'd have to get rid of 4 or 5 players.
They can't, because it still counts on the salary cap.
Even if they sack them and pay them up. Oh, well then, the goose.
Well, no, what they need to do then, like we're going to have done before, is get...
They're going bottom of the league on Sunday.
So what you need to do is, because it's happened at Wigan before in the past, you find players who happen to be on your books doing something in the office and say, fancy coming out of retirement.
So
whose wives work at the pub shop?
Rob Burrow and Kevin Sinfield and Chev Walker all come out of retirement.
Jamie Peacock.
I'll tell you what, on Thursday night it was Schofield, Innes, Maskell, Scotty and Francis Cummings who were coming out of retirement.
You wouldn't break the salary cap.
I'll tell you what, I'll be able to pass the ball and organise and kick the ball better than what they bloody well can do, I'll tell you.
Just imagine if the summer bash was around in Scoey's day, if all the Stones Bit of Championship teams played a weekend in Blackpool. The Sunday fixtures.
I'll tell you what, they'd have been playing Stones Bit, I can reassure you.
The Sunday morning fixture. I mean, the women play at 10:45 in the morning. If you'd have played at 10:45 on a Sunday morning in Blackpool.
Well, you used to do as an amateur.
I don't mind. I prefer it.
As a professional,
I prefer
been out
it
the night before, because I know you're.
Hold on, no.
Back in there.
No, never went out the night before. No. Dinner time, but that's what Andy Gregory used to say. The coach used to say, Greg, I've heard you went out. You went out again yesterday. You went out last night. All drunk up again. You went all drunk. You had about 12 pints. I've been told. He went, it's a total lie. I went in bed by 8 o'clock and been out all dinner time. So I went out last night. I went in bed by 8. I went in bed by 8, so he didn't class out being out at night time, even though he'd had a gallon and a half.
We probably haven't mentioned it enough, but well done London Broncos, 42-34 win over Wakefield, which certainly flattered Wakefield on the scoreline. Jordan Abdul with 4 tries in
the first half.
Minutes.
28.
He's going back to Ulkiar as well, Jordan Abdul. He's re-signed for Ulkiar.
Good player, very talented.
1,200 there, which is obviously there was less there than were at Newcastle. I know Newcastle had other things going on around the game, so that's a.
But again, I think that's where we've got to be more cognizant of who's playing. You know, add in the number of people that were at London Scholars with the number of people that were Broncos, and your audience is, a third of what or 2/3 of what it could be.
I thought the Lee and Lee
Widnes.
I thought Lee and Widnes were a good game to the end.
I tell you what, I thought Bradford Halifax were brilliant. I tell you what, I can't wait for that quarter final.
Oh, it'll be fantastic.
I think it's going to be an old-fashioned game of rugby league. They're going to get ripped in. There's going to be some fisticuffs. There's going to be some great sensational rugby league played. There's going to be a couple of drop goals and all this sort of thing. A couple of sin biddings. I think this is going to be an old-fashioned challenge.
I called it a couple of weeks ago. I thought Halifax would win the Summer Bash, but I think Bulls will get them in the Challenge Cup.
Are you going to go?
I will try and tell him.
I'm going. I'll be there.
His best mate will give him the talent.
Maybe I'll get an invite.
If you have a word with him,
I'll be there.
Nigel.
What has he got? He
goes as Nigel's minder.
Right.
I'm a Bulls are my second team.
Are they?
Well, anybody that offers him that's
It's a bit harsh.
Yeah. No, I might go.
It's a bit true.
Halifax
don't even get like Mark Wilson.
Halifax have turned around.
You don't like to see coaches losing their jobs, obviously, but things have turned around for them there. Maybe it was just.
Well, again, doesn't that prove to you, though, Leon, that the players had enough for Richard Marshall?
Yeah.
Simple as that. Richard had been there too long, and the players have decided we don't want to play for him anymore, so we'll go to the ball, get in the sack, and off you go.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's what's happened, but I just.
Well, it has happened.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying. If the players don't want to play for you, if the players have had enough for you, you're gone.
You've got to go.
You're gone.
Yeah,
You've got no choice.
It's simple as that, isn't it?
They'll get rid of you.
But also, new coaches, as you know yourself, they'll always get a reaction.
They always
get a reaction.
Always, no matter what.
It's not happened overnight. It's not something that's been reinvented. It's always happened.
The big game at the Bash beforehand was billed, obviously, as the clash between the top two, Toronto and Toulouse. Were you surprised with the margin of victory for Toronto on the way they played?
I wasn't surprised, but for a top 1 and 2 team, it shouldn't be that score, should it? French teams always struggle when they travel, no matter what. When I played at Catalan, we're a good team with good players, but we never play the same away as we do.
Why is that? Because it's not a talent thing.
No,
and you get used to, I assume you get used to travel because you're doing it.
No, it's not the travel. I think it's kind of bred into the French culture that it's really, really important you win your home games in sport, but the away games is not really seen as a bad thing if you lose. That's my outlook on it, is what I've been told from the time I was there in France. Is they don't look upon the away games.
But Leon, to be honest with you, there's not many French, they're all Australians or Kiwis, and this sort of thing. So.
Yeah, but it's still like a French culture.
The core of the team, and the coach is French, and
the core of the team.
Steve McNamara's not French.
Sylvain Houle is though. At Toulouse.
I just know they struggle. They struggle travelling a lot far. When you go to Toulouse, you know it's hard. When you go to Perpignan, you know it's hard. When they come to you, it's a different game, isn't it? You know it is.
I tell you what it's well. I've never met Bernard, but what's he like as a bloke?
Legend. Yeah, he's the boss. You don't mess about.
Yeah, I like his.
Walks around with a meat cleaver. You don't mess about.
Well, when I played rugby, I've always had Chris Casely. I had Chris Casely at Bradford. Never saw him. He kept himself in background, which is fine. At St Helens, I had McManus who come up to win, lose or draw. He was by the side of the field after a game. He'd shake around every game. He was my favourite chairman. Fantastic. Looked after me. Gave me really good contracts. Were really good with me, so I really like Eamon. And then when I went to Catalans, I had Bernard Gosh, and then for the first time in my life, when you lost a game and you sat down and your coach was talking, he'd come in and he'd like look you up and down like he wanted to kill you. And
which he could have done.
Yeah, he could have you killed. Any second he'd have you killed. But it was just like, wow, this is crazy. Like you've got this little, because he's only 5'2". He comes in and he'd stare you up and down, and if you don't play well, you go like. And we played then. I think in my second season, we lost his first 5 games. Played Wakefield, and they got rid of Webby, they got rid of Jamil Fakir, and they pulled me in. And I wasn't playing that bad, but I wasn't playing my best. But the team were playing poor, and I obviously one of the highest paid players pulls me in and just said, "Leon, what's going on? This is unacceptable. You need to play better." This is and it was the boss. But you knew not to mess. You just need to. Yeah, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. But I've got a lot of respect for Bernard.
So also as well, you had plenty of pressure at Catalans. From the Catalans when you went to Hull, how did you find Hull? Because that's a different pressure as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a different pressure. But I think I'd kind of, I think by that time I'd learned how to handle pressure quite well with the crowd pressure, what have you. And I knew that I was coming to the back end of my career. So my expectations were real high, but my body was starting to let me down. And I got one good season out of the body. And then I kind of, in my head, I realised that I was there to try and help these kids come through. And I kind of started changing expectations of myself because my body just couldn't do it anymore. So I enjoyed that as well.
But unfortunately, Liam, the fans' expectations don't change other.
No, to the heck, no, to the heck. But you can either
I still expect you to play like you did when you were in 2006 and 2008.
But you can either torture your own mind with that, or you can kind of get to a place where you accept that your body's starting to go.
So what's the biggest derby? Saints, Wigan, or Hull?
Saints, Wigan for me.
No, the biggest rugby league derby on the planet
is Bradford Leeds.
Bradford, that's what
it says.
The big city derby.
I was, from my point of view, it's my favourite games of some of my favourite games are for Bradford against Leeds at Edinley and also 24,999 beating Leeds at Edinley last second of the game. I know, brilliant nights, but I just the aura around the Saints Wigan games were massive.
So everybody who's out there that wants to know,
that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Played in all three.
That's just my opinion. The whole games were the whole FC whole car's crazy, like mental, crazy. But for me, I were more of a in the game more for Wigan and Saints and Leeds Bradford. I'm kind of a bigger player than I was then.
The answer to the question, of course, is Batley Dewsbury. Because it's the closest derby in World Rugby League. Because Stephen from
how many miles
the
apart?
legend that is Stephen from Dewsbury.
1.3 miles. It said on telly yesterday. Yeah.
There was some sterling work there yesterday at the Basher, Stephen.
So do we need to do some predictions?
Yeah, it is prediction time. It's magic prediction time.
Magic. What we got?
Stars.
Talking of magic, what's concept work for you?
What?
The magic concept?
I like it, but I don't know. Is there too many games? We played too many rounds. I like it. I like it at Newcastle. I thought Newcastle were brilliant. I just don't know whether does it have an effect on how many games we play, and does it devalue the Challenge Cup? Because if it devalues the Challenge Cup, the people think I'd rather go to Magic Weekend and go to Wembley than I'd rather get rid of it and make people go to Wembley.
And does Liverpool excite you? If you were a fan, would you be?
It does a little bit. I thought Newcastle were perfect.
Yeah, well, I think we said that at the beginning that we can't understand why it's moved.
You know what? That chicken place is going to be skint this weekend.
I know. Big crying.
What's it called, Rich?
Chicken Cottage.
Chicken Cottage. Yes, that's going to be skint this week because we're not going.
It's a perfect location. It's just a perfect location.
Spot on.
So no Chicken Cottage, but we are off to Anfield because it is the Magic Weekend. And well done, Super League. You know, I know we're supposed to all bash Robert Elston, but obviously they've signed an extended deal with Datcher for the next 3 years, and it sounds like Betfred have signed up for another year as well. And they've been a good partner for the sports, and that is good news. And the Magic Weekend starts with the biggest game of the weekend, of course, at 2 o'clock on Saturday. The Catalan Dragons, fresh from winning in the Cathedral of Catalonia, which is a word I've made up, versus Wakefield, who lost to London again. Gary Schofield.
Yeah, interesting fixture. But generally, you know, both teams at times a little bit inconsistent, and the Catalans, good win against Wigan, and fully deserved. Wakefield, boy oh boy, again, losing to London, but big Fafita, he'll be looking on the big show again to put on the show from there. Maybe that Jacob Miller could be coming back. I just feel as though Catalans, they like the big occasion. They played at a big football ground last weekend. They like Anfield. Don't think there'll be much in it, but I'm going the Catalans. I'm going the Catalans by 7.
Oh, does have to do the 7th thing?
Yeah, I'll go Catalans, and they've been playing well. Just not too sure. I think Wakefield are due a big performance. They've been a little bit not inconsistent, but I think if depending on what players have got back. But yeah, I'll just go Catalans.
I think Wakefield's injuries have caught up with them. I think they've done incredibly well to manage them as they have, but to lose 10, even though some of them are feeding in, and some of them are, by acknowledgement, people like Bill Tupou and Tom Johnson, your best players. That's hard. At some point, it catches up with you.
They've done ridiculously well to see how many players have lost.
I think they'll be really disappointed with the way they played at Wakefield, because that was a little mark on London, because that was a mark on the calendar saying week 1 we need to get a little bit of revenge. The Dragons must be able to kick on from that performance in Barcelona. So I think the fact that they're third, but they've got a minus points difference, I think the Dragons will win it.
By how many?
12.
I'm going to go for the Catalans as well, just because they will be buoyed by that victory last week in the south of France, and
or even the north of Spain.
In the north of Spain, in Catalonia, in the capital of Catalonia, in Catalan and everything and all that, red and yellow. Wakefield, if I tip them to lose, they might win, so that's always a positive. And I'll go for the reverse of what happened a couple of years ago when Jacob Miller hit a drop goal to win it. I'll go for the Catalans to win by 1 point. Maybe even golden point just to screw up the rest of the schedule for them. That'd be quite funny. So Catalans by 1. And it's followed by Hull Football Club versus Huddersfield Giants.
Yeah, well, these two certainly, I think it's all going to depend on the forward pack, if I'm honest with you, but the Giants on the day, we looked at a couple of weeks ago against St Helens, in the Cup, if they can mix it when they perform, but again, it's just that inconsistency, isn't it? And when I look at the Hull pack, I think they'll certainly get the better of the Giants pack, where you look at Albert Kelly and certainly Mark Sneed with his kicking game and Jake Connor, they're just hitting a bit of form at this moment in time. Obviously, Gaskell and Frawley will look to play off a dominant pack, but I can't see that against the Black and Whites at Mullen Street. And I think with Albert Kelly coming back, Connor, well, if he stays on the field, he got Sinbad again yesterday, didn't he, by all accounts, so he needs to keep his trap shut now and then, does Jake, to be honest with you. But I just feel Hull, the forward pack will dominate, the Hull backs, they'll score a few points. I'm going to Black and Whites by 14. Nice.
I've spent a bit of time watching Huddersfield train over the last couple of weeks. Spent a bit of time quite closely with the Germ coach, so Simon Wolford, and I've been impressed. I think the last week I went to watch them against who was they played? OKR, and I've seen some big improvements. So obviously I'm good mates with Radders as well. But from what from watching Huddersfield closely in training, to see Jermaine McGilvray come back from injury. Daniel McIntosh at the back playing well. Some good academy players. I'm going to go for a Huddersfield win by 4.
I think the issue for Hull is they're capable of pulling off brilliant results like the one at Warrington last week, but they don't then tend to back up this season. I know that they're in the top 4, but I think that says everything about how no team is particularly consistent at the moment. I think they need to back up after that fantastic Warrington result. That I think Lee Radford would feel that there was an opportunity lost if they didn't then take the 2 points against Huddersfield. I think having Jamie Shaw back's big for them as well. The way Scott Taylor's playing at the moment and giving them a lead, obviously Danny Houghton, tackling machine. Huddersfield have got a great record at Magic. They and Wigan have won 8 out of 10. No, what was it? 8 out of 12. So they have got one of the best records. But I just don't think they play well enough for long enough at the moment. So I think Hull will nick them and Hull by 6.
Yeah, I've got Hull by a small margin. I'm going to say Hull are unpredictable. The whole league's unpredictable, as proven last weekend.
Apart from Saints, who are predictably good.
Saints not in crisis. So I'm going to go for Hull and Narrowly by 4. Then we've got the rematch of the big game in Milwaukee and the game the other week in the Cup. And the other million times they play every season. It's the Warrington Wolves versus the Wigan Warriors.
Yeah, Wigan got spanked in by Catalans at the weekend, but I just feel as though Wigan, if they could produce that sort of form in the Challenge Cup they did a couple of weeks ago, the forwards were pretty dominant. They kept Blake Austin quiet, also to Declan Patton from there. So Warrington with that surprise loss against Hull, again, it's just the inconsistency from one of the top sides. And I just feel as though Wigan, they'll be looking for a bit of revenge. They were the better side of the Challenge Cup. They should have won. Why that try was disallowed, I still can't understand it, to be honest with you, from there. I think Wigan will bounce back from Catalans. They'll be looking to turn over Warrington. And I'm going Wigan. And I'm going Wigan by 10.
Wigan by 10?
I'm going to go the opposite. I think obviously both teams are coming off a bad result, but I just think Warrington's form this year as a top 4, top 3 team has been quite consistently well. And I think they'll take that loss against Hull FC quite, very, very personal, and we'll look to really put it right this week. So, yeah, I think Warrington by 4.
I'm probably agree with both of you. That I don't know which Wigan we're going to get. Are we going to get the Wigan that went really, really close in the Challenge Cup against Warrington, when effectively for silverware perhaps this year their season was on the line, or are we going to get the Wigan that Adrian Lambie, in his admission this week, said were really flat? Even though they trained really well during the week. I have a feeling that the team that needs to hit back the most is actually Warrington.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I said.
So many of the big games that they've played recently, they almost have let themselves down. This is a big stage. This is where Blake Austin has to come to the fore, where he didn't in the cup tie. I don't think Warrington can afford to lose too much more ground on St Helens at the top. I think they need to prove to themselves that they can bounce back.
Enough. Yeah.
So I'm going to go Warrington by 12.
And I've gone for exactly the same number. It should be a Warrington win up until the point where I said they were the best team I'd seen this season, and they've fallen apart. But there you go. Sunday kicks off with everyone having sore heads from the. I don't know if the sponsors are going to give us some free drinks this year, but anyway. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff on Sunday at Anfield between the Hull Kingston Rovers and the Salford Red Devils.
Well, as I said in the column, I think this will be a high scoring game. They both like to throw the ball about. Yeah, Hull KR, they'll be losing Danny Maguire from a point of view of creativity point from there, but still they like to score points both sides. Defensively, they're a bit missing, but I just feel as though with Robert Louis and Jackson Hastings, the way they played against St Helens and the creativity what they've got, I just feel as though they'll have too much for OKR. And Salford, unlucky by losing to St Helens, but they'll have plenty of confidence. They'll love the wide pitch there at Anfield. Plenty of points for both sides, and I'm going Salford by 10.
Yes, I agree. I think Salford will win. I think they showed in that game against St Helens what they're capable of. Keep that same kind of confidence, and I think they win comfortably by 16.
Again, I don't know which Salford we're going to get. Are we going to get the Salford that lost at home to Hull KR in the Cup 2 weeks ago, or are we going to get the Salford that were absolutely sensational at St Helens? The fact that Saints came back and won it says everything about the spirit at Saints, but I thought for that 60 minutes Salford were almost unplayable, and if we get that Salford, then they'll win. But I guess even Watson doesn't know from one week to the next what Salford is going to get. I'm going to go with the fact that some of their players now are declaring where they're going to be next year. That's starting to be taken care of. They've got to now try and create some kind of a landmark with the team they're with at the moment. This is a stage that they will want to play on. I'm going to go Salford by 16.
Of course, last time we had this game in the Challenge Cup, we all tipped Salford and look what happened there.
Exactly.
So here we go, full house again. Salford by 4. Paulie to score the winning try. The biggest game in World Rugby League. It is a 3:30 kick-off. Whatever's going on in the rest of the world, stop and turn on Sky Sports, whichever, because it's the Leeds Rhinos in crisis versus the London Broncos. We saw it a few weeks ago in a game which hastened the end of David Furner's career. Was that the game afterwards in which he did the old... Matt Shaw asked him, some people are saying Leeds are in crisis. Who were there some people? We've never found out. And it turns out they were right. Was he rattled? We don't know. Gary Schofield is Leeds versus London.
Gary Schofield is
loving it.
Well, I asked that question, don't you?
Well, do you know what? I hope the Leeds players have seen my column today. If not, I hope they get this on the podcast, because I'm just going to read out what's in my column here.
Believe me, they won't have done.
Or get the podcast.
Where do I begin with Leeds? Their fans will be praying, and I mean praying, that the Pope travels over and to see if they can travels over the M62 to desperately get the win what we need.
Where's the Pope leave?
Because they need somebody to cheer, because it's never been this bad. Even in 96, 2016, another year later, it's not been that bad. London will be licking their lips at the prospects of playing such a shambolic side. They will simply play the game at their pace. They'll kick the ball out and walk to the scrums exactly like they did against Wigan. They will relish being on the big stage, and they know that Leeds are simply abysmal right now. I just cannot go for a Leeds win. That will only happen with some sort of divine intervention. London got a superb result against Wakefield, and Jordan Abdul of all people, is obviously on fire at the moment by scoring 4 tries. Leeds, on the other hand, were appalling once again against Castleford. Castleford have to get a second gear. I was at the game with 7 Leeds players, and if I had a pound for everyone who said we should put our boots back on because we couldn't do any worse, I'd be shopping for a yacht right now. Please, Leeds, please, the Pope travel over. Give Phil Kaplan, give the Leeds fans a blessing. But most of all, give the Leeds players a blessing for a quality performance for 80 minutes. But unfortunately, amen, I'm going for London to win by 10.
You didn't like that.
I'll keep it short and sharp. I'll let you two talk about Leeds and it's your team, but I just can't see where Leeds win comes from at the moment. I'll probably be wrong, they'll probably pull it out of the bag, but watching the last 2 games I just look lost. So I'll go London by 8.
London have had the perfect result coming into this. They had the week off. They obviously used it beneficially. They blitzed Wakefield for 60 minutes. I think Danny Ward was delighted with that part of the game. A little bit concerned that they,
back end
came, but they should have really put the foot on the throat of Wakefield, but they didn't. As you say, there's no form line for Leeds at the moment other than they're rubbish. But at some point, I have this inane belief that they will turn it around.
I think they will. I do. I think they will.
I'm going. The thing is,
when in 2025?
The worry for Leeds is the psychological demons they've got from the last time they played London. That they were 8-0 down at half time. They came back to be leading by 16 points to 8, and they actually played pretty well for that 30 minutes. But in 2 manic minutes at the end, they lost it, and that's almost the point that their confidence disappeared. They've a chance to get it back this weekend, so I'm going to go Leeds by 4. But that is more in hope than expectation.
Amen.
You wouldn't expect me to say anything else, would you?
There is previous form for popes to turn things around for their sport. I can't remember who the pope was. A couple of the Argentinian one a few ago who supported San Lorenzo in Argentina, and they suddenly went on a winning run. But I don't know who the current pope is.
I'm not sure the pope's a rhino.
No. Ronnie is though. Whatever happened to Rita Rhino? Where is Rita Rhino? We need to find these things out. Maybe if they find Rita Rhino, she could be the key for the turnaround for these runners and their kids. Having said that, I'm tipping Leeds to win this one because, hey, it'd be funny if I get it wrong. I don't know why I do these things. When I'm in the mix zone and no one speaks to me on Sunday, it's going to be great, isn't it? Leeds by 4, much like Phil said. And the final game of the weekend, as we fast run out of time, but we haven't got a time limit really. St Helens, the league leaders, take on the Castleford Tigers.
Yeah, this is the juiciest looking fixture for me. It's the Magic weekend. I know Wigan and Warrington play, but for me, this is the juiciest one. And St Helens, the last couple of games against Huddersfield and certainly against Salford. Against Salford for 15 minutes were outstanding. Huddersfield, it was a tap performance. Turned it on, turned it off, even though the Giants played okay. Castleford, as I mentioned, they have to get a second gear against Leeds, but they'll have plenty of confidence from that. They like playing on the big stage. They'll throw the ball about. That's the Dallow Power way. But I just feel as though Saints, just in Holbrook, after the last 2 performances, will be saying, hey, listen, let's start playing how we can play. We play for longer minutes, but also too, what I do feel is they've got to keep Alex Worms on that field for longer periods. When Alex goes off, there seems to be a tendency where the enthusiasm and the impact just leaves it a little bit. But I feel as though Holbrook, he'll want the response for the last 2 performances. I think he'll get it at Anfield. Cass, yeah, as I mentioned, plenty of confidence after that Leeds win, but didn't have to get out of second gear because Leeds were abysmal. I think Saints will turn it on, and I think Saints will win by 16.
I think Saints will come away victors. I think Liam Watts has been fantastic for Castleford this year. I hope that he should get a Great Britain call up off the back of it. But I think very similar to Hull FC, I think Castleford had a lot of players injured, a lot of good players. Luke Gale's nearly not played for 2 years. Shenton's injured at the moment. And if you ever look into the games and you just look in the background, there's always 7, 8, 9 players sat. And I think that affects them badly. I know it's been good to see Jake Truman, who's a Bradford lad, lives near me. It's good to see him step up and take a massive step up, but you miss Luke Gale's form was man of steel the year after when he got injured. His form shows you that he's the form halfback of the competition, and there's only so long you can play without those kind of players, without the experience and the class. And I think that's why one of the reasons that they've been patchy over this last year. So I'm going to go Saints by 12.
I think this will be the most entertaining game of the weekend because I don't think these 2 teams can play any other way. I think there'll probably be high scoring. There'll be a lot to admire in terms of the skill level on show. I thought, you say Cass didn't need to get out of second gear. I thought in the second half their star players came to the Peter Matauti, who'd had a poor game the week before, dominated. As you say, Liam Watts, when he came back for his second spell, almost took the Leeds back on his own. Paul McShane was back to the kind of form that he was at his best. Jake Truman is asked to shoulder a huge amount of responsibility this year because it's not just Gale that's been missing. It's Rankin's only just coming back into the mix. They've had to rely on Corey Aston as well. Jamie Ellis hasn't been there, so I think Truman's played more minutes than perhaps even Darryl Powder would want him to. But he, again, last week was back to his dominating best. So I wouldn't rule Cass out, but I think that Saints are doing what. And you probably corroborate this, every point in a year that is so long and so demanding mentally as much as physically, there's a period where your form drops a little bit, and I think Saints have had that over the last 2 weeks but have found a way to win, and that's why I think they'll go on and win this. I think they'll bring back people like James Roby. Jesse Senelafea was missing. He's gone back to Australia on compassionate grounds. Do you think that tilts the mix to Saints? So I'm going Saints by 12, but the most entertaining game of the whole weekend.
I've gone by the lowest margin then for a Saints win, because I think they will win because they're top of the league. They've only lost once all year, haven't they? So Saints to win by 8, and hopefully a very entertaining end to a weekend which we all hope is a massive success, and we all hope afterwards we're not having long discussions about what's gone wrong and throwing blame around. But no doubt this time next week we'll be here throwing blame around.
Talking about Leeds Rhinos losing.
Talking about Leeds Rhinos in crisis. We can at least in crisis.
We'll give you a t-shirt before you go.
The hashtag and everything. Thank you very much to Gary Schofield, to Leon Pryce, special guest night, Phil Kaplan. We'll be back on Monday, 6 o'clock, to look back on the Magic weekend and everything else that's going on in the Rugby League world, because there's a full programme of fixtures in the Championship and League One and the Women's Challenge Cup. Best of luck to all teams involved, but not all teams can win. And
Rich, can I just out to everybody out there who's watching on Facebook and YouTube, and also to just listening, can we all pray for Leeds on Saturday night?
Hashtag pray for Leeds.
Leon won't be.
Amen.
Hashtag pray for Leeds. There you go. So, on that religious note, we bid you a fond farewell.
It's going to be good.
And good night, and we shall see you next week.